Hey everybody, let's hope that this little platform works. We're more ghetto than usual today, thanks to my technological ineptitude, but
we're broadcasting from an iPhone.
Yes.
Basically.
iPhone in the technological paradise of New York City. The best we can get is an iPhone and some like jimmied together bullshit.
We keep getting worse and worse.
Yeah, it's not good.
When I was just driving and I went to I was at a stop sign. This just happened a few minutes ago. There was a parents had their masks on in the front seat of like this minivan, and then the kids in the back seat didn't have any masks on. And like the little girl was looking over at me, so they were on this side of the car, and then I noticed that the kids were staring at me, and I thought maybe it was because I didn't have my mask on, right? So I picked up. I said, "This is a good opportunity." I picked up a mask. I held it up. I said, I threw the mask away. I said, and then I went like that to the mask, right? And then the kid got the message that I was saying, "Don't wear the mask."
That's
right?
funny.
Yeah, and then so the next light came, and I don't know if the parents caught wind of it, pulled up right alongside me again. They stayed a car behind, and they left an empty spot there because they didn't want to confront reality once again. So it's like this ugly.
That's funny.
Are we broadcasting here?
I want to make sure that this is working because it showed up all weird. Okay, no, it looks. I mean, it's like weird and blocky. I don't know. Everyone, can you see our stuff? Because on one computer it says no, and on one iPhone it says yes.
Let me see.
Because this is like frozen, but
okay.
oh wait, actually no, it's not frozen. Oh, there we go. Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Noise.
The delay is insane. The delay is so bad.
Yeah, but at least it's working, and that is what counts. So I'm just gonna press pause on that because I don't really feel the need to. Yes.
Oh my God!
All
So
right.
you were on Press TV, huh?
Yes,
you
I was on Press TV, and there was one. I think it was about the Biden thing.
You don't remember?
I don't remember. That's the problem. I really cannot remember shit, and it's like disturbing. Actually, let me see. If I go to
it might
Gmail.
be on TV. And you were on RT recently?
Yeah, I was RT. RT. I was talking. I'm getting the two confused. That's the problem.
Is that T over there?
I can make you some if you want. Let me just get to my thing. My thing. I can totally have words.
5,800 fully vaccinated Americans have, when are people going to start to fucking pick up on the fact that they haven't had a problem all this year?
Yeah.
And then they get the shot and they have really fucked up.
Well, there's all these nursing homes where they have it, and then all of a sudden, oh wait,
everybody's dying of COVID.
Everybody's dying. What?
Yeah,
What's going on here?
Yeah. Oh, but Rachel Maddow's not telling us about this, so therefore it's. Until Rachel Maddow says it, and she had Fauci on, and she was smiling. Did you see when she was with Fauci?
Of course she was smiling. You can't get when she's around power. She basically has a full body orgasm. It's really unseemly and just disgusting to see.
Yeah, her throat dilates, and for a dyke to suck as much dick as she does.
It's not wholesome. It's not wholesome at all.
Yeah,
okay, so when I was on Press TV, I was talking about the sanctions and how the U.S. is pulling its people out of Russia and Russia is doing the same, and it's like Russia doesn't need our dumbasses.
No,
it's like it's actually better that they don't. I mean,
exactly right, and the Chinese are learning that too.
Yeah.
The more we fuck with people, the more that we are codependent on, the more these people go, we gotta break our codependency. Well, I got some bad news for you, America. When Chinese decides to break their codependency on us, we're not gonna have shit.
Yeah, it's the whole crackhead economy thing that I was talking about, where it's just like, okay, so a guy runs in with a gun and holds up the whole place and says, "I need a bomber, a stealth bomber right now," and everybody's just like, "Huh, what?" And he's got a big pile of like paper, useless paper that he just throws onto the desk, and they're like, "Yeah, I guess. I mean, you're good for it, right?" And of course, he's not really good for it, but he's got a gun, so they give him the thing, and it's not going to work like that for much longer because these other countries can do just as well as what America can do, usually better. So what are we still doing with these people?
Yeah, I'm surprised it lasted so long, this idea of just like printing paper, giving it out, and people like giving credibility to the paper. The only reason that worked is that the infrastructure of the global economy was based on this green paper that has no value, but that everybody decided out of a sense of mutual agreement, I guess, to go along with it. But now there's alternatives that are arising, and I think it's going to be cold reality when Americans are sitting there with all this green paper that's not going to buy anything.
Yeah, it's a testament to the force of inertia that just it's been going on for so long. People think, oh well, it's always been like this. It will always be like this. It must always be like this. And it's actually no.
Not going to be like that forever. Yeah. Well, again, the fact of the matter is that when your whole world is based on confidence. Okay, well, which is the key. The word Americans put the con in confidence.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
I just thought of that. That's a good one actually. But when your whole epistemology, your whole belief structure, your whole economy, everything is based on whether or not people have confidence, and it reminds me of the discus thrower. Do you know about the discus thrower?
I know about the discus thrower, but maybe these people don't. Let's fill their minds with discus.
Hey, baby. I'm the best discus thrower in the world. I can throw a discus farther than any man. In fact, I was the Olympic discus thrower.
Really? Can I see?
Oh, maybe not today. My shoulder's feeling a little bad, but trust me, I can throw that discus further than any man.
I really want to see it because.
Do you think I'm sexy now? Because I.
Oh yeah,
that?
no, that discus throwing, that's so hot. That's
okay.
The hottest thing in the world.
Okay. Now another person. Oh, that was good. That really worked with that babe. Let me see. Let me try another babe. Hey, darling, did you hear? I can throw a discus further than any man.
Really? That's so hot. I love discus throwers.
I was the world champion. I can throw that discus further than any man. What do you think of that?
I think that is the sexiest thing
Sexy?
ever.
Okay. Oh, that was great. I'm getting all this action. And all I have to do is tell a good story about how I can throw that discus. Now I'm the girl, just as the other girl. Hey, he's been talking a lot about discus throwing.
I know. It's funny because, discus throwing is such, the big thing right now. And I'm wondering, I haven't actually seen him throw the discus, so what's up with that?
I've never actually seen him throw the discus either. Maybe we should confront him tomorrow. I have a discus here, and we'll give him the discus. We'll get him out on the field, and we'll see if he can actually do it. I'd like to see that. That is really. I really think it's sexy. A man who can say he can throw a discus further than that's so sexy.
Yeah.
I'd like to see him actually do it. Oh,
that would be the best thing.
24 hours later. Hi, ladies. Oh, you're together, both of you. Yeah.
We want to see that discus thing that you do so
Here's
well.
a discus. Take it. What? This?
Yeah, why not?
You want me to throw it here?
We're here, and we both really love the discus, so might as well throw it.
What am I going to do? They're confronting me with it, and I told them that my shoulder was hurting. Let me see. Maybe I'll throw the discus. I'll try to throw the discus. Maybe they won't know. Maybe they won't know if it doesn't go that far. Okay, ladies. This may not be my Olympic throw, but here we go. Oh, that didn't go very far.
I don't know. What happened there? I mean, that doesn't sound.
Oh yeah, my shoulder must be. Maybe next week. You still want to have sex with me?
I have to wash my hair tonight, actually.
Yeah, no, I don't think I want to. My dog. I have to wash my dog. What? No sex?
No, sorry. No discus. No sex.
That is the story of the Federal Reserve, the United States Treasury, the U.S. banking system, the interbank system, right? The Bank of International Settlements, the U.S. Congress, the U.S. Senate, the FBI. This is the story of the biggest fucking hoax ever perpetrated on the world. America is literally the fucking bullshit discus thrower.
Yep.
That's what it is.
That's what we're dealing with right now. And the fact that it's gotten away with it for so long is really a crime.
And I tell that story because my family knows knew my family, we were friends with 4-time Olympic discus thrower Al Order. And anyone who knows the history of the Olympics knows that from 1964, and he had the distinction of winning 4 gold medals in 4 consecutive Olympiads, right? Spanning 16 years. So you have to understand, you have a young guy starts throwing discus and then way too old to be competing against the young guys, and he won every time. But the reason why I like the story of the discus thrower is because you could bullshit all you want, like the Federal Reserve is doing. You can lie your ass off about how good you are, but something about a discus throw when you're on the field and the discus is in your hand. Sorry, Charlie, you either can fucking put up or shut up. You either can fucking throw that discus further than any man, or you ain't shit, motherfucker. And then we find out you're full of shit. And that's what's happening to the American dollar. And that's why we have COVID. COVID is there to mask the collapse of the US dollar so that the Jewish banking system can say, oh, no, it wasn't us stealing all the money from your families. No. It was a virus that did it. Isn't that lovely?
Yeah, it's the same thing that happened during 9/11 when you had that missing $2 billion in the Pentagon, and then that's the part
Suddenly,
that got hit. Oops.
The next morning.
Oops.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we had what Dobbs Zackheim was the accountant. Dude.
Oh, just so happened to hit that place where we were looking for that faking missing
Rabbi
money.
Dobbs Zackheim. He's a rabbi,
They
actually.
really rub it in, don't they?
Dobbs Zackheim is, by any objective measure, a really slippery, slimy. I mean, have you ever seen this guy talk?
I've seen a picture of him.
Dude,
I don't know what he talks about.
Totally slimy guy. You don't want people like this in any capacity in the government. Yet these guys are the guys who are pulling this scam, and they seem to move right up to the top. When you look at the PNAC document, you see Elliot Abrams, Dobbs Zackheim. These were people that were discredited during the Reagan administration. They were roundly discredited.
Elliot Abrams was a felon. I mean,
Felon.
what the hell?
Yeah, and you had these guys, Poindexter, who ran the Total Information Awareness.
Total information.
He was Iran-Contra man back in the day, Poindexter. And then you had that other guy who just blew his head off. What was his name? He was. I get all these Poindexters mixed up. But there was a guy who was a Reagan administration during the Iran-Contra thing, and he was up on the stand with Oliver North and Poindexter, and then there was that third guy, begin with an and he ends up killing himself, and it's like, of course when people kill themselves, it's always...
Yeah, because they were spilling too much beans.
Like Vince Foster, something like that.
Vince Foster.
Gary Webb, 2 bullet shots in the back of the head, sorry. And that's why I did my anti-suicide.
No, that's something that all journalists who are doing any sort of work that requires investigating into these not so wholesome corners of the political spectrum. It's not a friendly place for journalists.
No. I read some of your articles the other day. I realized I hadn't read any in a while, so I went there. And one of them was really good. What was it? The one I think I sent you an email. It was a really good one.
The one about the asset stripping.
The asset stripping. I thought that was really good, and it was so long too. They let you write long ones.
Yeah, sometimes they let me get away with
that was really
longer
long.
than other.
Yeah, that was a good. Well, it was really thorough, and I'm putting my head in the mind of readers, and they must really appreciate that stuff. So thank you for that.
Thanks for reading it. No,
yeah.
I'm glad that people are taking the time to read it. I usually get some pretty good comments, and I'm working on one right now about there's this site that's like something about study finds, and it's all these like studies that they collect from the corners of the internet. And this one is study finds that humans believe robots more than they believe other humans. No, it wasn't really believe robots. It was humans trust computers or trust robots more than other humans. I forget exactly how they phrased it, but that's what I'm working on right now. Is that okay? So you keep people away from their fellow humans for so long, for a year, and then you insert robots in there or insert AI in there as much as you can. So you normalize the whole human-robot interaction, and then eventually it becomes, okay, well, I don't really remember what it was like to hang out with my fellow humans, but these robots have really been helpful this last year when I've been so lonely and fucked up. But so it's really, they're trying to cram AI and cram robots into there as if they're like valid substitutes for human interaction, and that's really terrifying, because once you start trusting the robots, like, for one thing, who do you think programs the damn robots? It's not like they program themselves. Somebody at the root of there is human being programming all this stuff and trying to say, oh, well, computers aren't biased. How could that ever be possible? And it's not good. It's really not good where this is going.
Yeah. Well, I'm one of the first people who's totally roundly discredited the whole uncanny valley theory. That's one that sits at the core of most of the designers of AI now and the robotics industry. They still are adhering to the premise that's outlined in the uncanny valley theory. And in case people don't know what that theory is, and it's been a while, but basically it means that as cybernetic or cyborgs or as robotics reach human similitude, right? As they approach that, they call this, there was this Japanese writer who wrote about this, they called it the uncanny valley, which means that people have a level of discomfort the closer you get to realism. And I have seen this as one of the driving principles of robotic development that I believe must sit at the core of like corporate development. They don't want to spring on the lifelike stuff too early because they're afraid they might alienate. That is a completely fraudulent premise. I don't believe that. First of all, especially when it comes to what is going to come, which would be sexual prosthetic robots. They are going to be lifelike, and you're certainly not going to want something with a big manga face on it or whatever. You're going to want something that has a human simulate.
Well, there's already a guy somewhere in the former Soviet Union. I forget which country. I don't think he's in Russia exactly, but he's somewhere over there, and he's pledged to marry his sex doll.
I saw that on RT.
Yeah,
had a big thing.
Yeah, they always have that in the corner.
It's always in the corner there.
Well, it's like when you're setting up your article, you pick like articles to feature in the background, and if it's one that has a lot of likes, you put that one in there. So I guess that one's been popular.
Oh my god. It's really sad because, like, if I was going to design robots like that for that purpose, I would say, look, you're not going to fall in love with this thing. You're going to just grind one off and then put it back in the closet.
Well, except unless you're that guy. I mean, there's that guy. And then who's the other one? The Dave Cat or whatever his name is. Yeah.
Oh my god, he combs the hair.
And there's 4 of them, and he sits them all around and has them do like tea parties. It's just like, dude.
He's so strange.
Dude.
You wonder if this guy's for real or not.
Yeah, I
mean, he could be pulling a stunt, but I think he might be for real.
I think it's a lot of work to put in if he's not for real. Let's put it in that way.
God, that's really sad. Yeah. That's really sad. No, a sexual robot or is not to talk to. It's just for a physical grind off, and then you clean it, take it over to the sink, clean.
Use your special sex robot cleaning brush, which has rotational attachments that go at a faster or a slower speed depending on the orifice and how much you need it to get in those little cracks there and crevices. We don't want anything dry and getting sticky now, do we, ladies and gentlemen?
Mm-hmm. I was telling Helen on the way over that I was stuck in traffic, and I said, oh, they know how to control society, and it's probably the Jews that are creating this traffic, till I got up to it, and it was just like an ACT car was all cracked up. But I realized that, you see what happens? They sabotage so many elements of society that now, if your shoelace breaks, it's like, oh,
yeah, everyone by default blames it on them. That's just that's an email.
Oh, okay. It's from Gilad Achtman?
I'm on a mailing list with him, yeah.
Oh, nice. I should get on his mailing list. I've been wanting to interview him actually.
We should.
Yeah. Maybe send out a request.
Yeah, somebody sent me a book, his other book, Being in Time, which I haven't read yet, so I have that now.
Sartre. Jean-Paul Sartre.
Yeah, it's got a similar name.
Right.
I don't think it's quite the exact same name, but it's something like that. Yeah.
So what do you want to talk about tonight? You got all kinds of interesting things that you deal with every day. Load us up. Or how do I get? I'm afraid I'm not good at your tea thing.
I can do that.
You can do the tea. Maybe I'll entertain the guest. Well, I don't want to entertain anybody. You know. I get a lot of people that say they love me, but I want them to show the love by actually showing that they've done some sort of activist. Because I'm not. I mean, I do appreciate these sentiments, but the way to show the love is to actually take the work, amplify
and do something with it.
Yeah, do something with it, and
show that you've been reading.
Show
putting
me
these
that
ideas
you've done
into
something.
action.
Yeah. Otherwise, I'm just an entertainer, and I don't want to be an entertainer. I want to be the stuff springs forth from a nucleus of activism, right? Not entertainment, not comedy. And comedy and entertainment is just there because the stuff is so dreary, so ugly, so painful that unless we can,
Yeah, we have to insert the humor in order to make it so people just don't go outside and blow their brains out, which is a very real possibility with this sort of thing.
And I promise you, most of the laughs are going to be uncomfortable laughs.
Yeah.
But they were the same uncomfortable laughs in the rape scene in Man Bites Dog, which, it's like, what?
Yeah,
Laughing at a rape scene? No, it's hilarious actually because you could see it lays bare what's happening in our society, how the media is joining in, but it was just in the small level.
One thing that I have noticed, sorry to burst in there, is that they seem to be having these mass shootings now every day. They're determined to get rid of the Second Amendment, and it's really scary because they'll just throw in one every single day. I go on to look at my computer, and it's like, another mass shooting. It's like, do people really believe this is happening?
As FBI hits pay dirt with program against white supremacism.
Media call to de-radicalize Christians. Never mind Boulder murders. That was the Boulder one was the one where they were like, oh, it's white supremacy. Oh wait, it's a Syrian guy. Oops.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's still white supremacism.
Yeah,
yeah.
I get these.
If it's a Swahili African guy who kills an Asian, that's white supremacism in action, and I don't know how they could get away with it. I mean, you really have to be a brain dead progressive. And I decided that, and it's too bad what's happened to progressives, because progressives used to be the ones who were the guardians of, the safety of our society, right? Progressive people used to be the ones who were against war. They were the ones who would have investigated government corruption. Anyone who's lived from the 1970s onward, if you were a Republican conservative, you were not interested in government corruption. You supported government corruption. You supported war. So we have this weird definitions. So the truth is, from at least the 1970s, 60s, 70s, 80s, right, 90s, conservative Republicans were war fanatics. They wanted war, pro-war, pro-surveillance state, and anti-free speech. Right? That was Republican conservatives. Right? Okay. Now we're supposed to believe that Republican conservatives are pro-free speech. Well, don't believe it for a second. They're only for it because they're out of power. Once they get in power, they are going to attack free speech like they always have. Like everyone in power is against free speech. That's a fundamental ingredient of power, is opposition to free
it's got to be
speech.
just for us and never mind everybody else.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, and or just for us and people that we think could go either way, or just for us and people we want to demonize. I mean, that's the whole point of the white supremacy thing, is that they'll let you say some things as long as they can twist those things to be categorized as white supremacism. I mean, I know I keep referring to this one Off Guardian, which is a really great publication, and they started calling Off Guardian a Q publication because they thought, okay, well, it's different than the mainstream narrative, so it must be Q, and everybody was like, guys, you got that one a little wrong, and it's really gross because they'll do this. They'll just glom onto any popular site, and they did the same thing with Global Research. They tried to say Global Research is a Russian propaganda site. It's like, no, it's run by a dude in Canada, man.
Right. Well, they certainly are, with the help of the progressives, installing the infrastructure for the suppression of speech. So
yes.
The progressives are championing the permanent installation of the infrastructure necessary to suppress free speech. And again, it's not like you and I both haven't said 10,000 times, dude, it's going to come back and bite you.
Yep.
But you know why, and I've said this to you before, how when somebody says first they came for this, then they came for that, and then they came for this, but I wasn't that, and then they came for this, but I wasn't that, so I let them go for it, and then they came for me. And I you know my opinions on that.
Yeah.
That argument is not the kind of somebody who is so thoughtless as to not understand the bigger issue is not going to understand the nuanced expression.
Well, they whip out cliches from wherever they can find them, and they think, this is close enough to what I think I feel that I think I'm just going to put this up, and it almost expresses my thoughts. Almost.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a so yeah, so we're going to end up in a world where, you know, we're going to have to, because, you know, as the United States Congress makes more and more laws about how we're allowed the permissible forms of speech about Israel, they're outlining every single thing we can say, we can't say. Now they say if you speak in criticism of Israel, you also have to include 2 other nations that also do bad.
Or was it only 2? I thought it was like name all of them.
Yeah, that are bad.
Yeah.
And stuff. Yeah, and then but what happens? And this is what they're going to drive themselves into a no-win situation, because there's going to be a point where we all get to learn how to talk. We'll say, oh, Israeli government is the best in the world. Oh yeah, we trust them.
Yeah.
And then what? How are they going to write that? You can't go when you talk in support of this. You can't wink your eyes. Like, how the fuck are they?
Well, I mean, they tried to do the triple parentheses for a while, and of course that got co-opted by like the Daily Stormer and all these people.
What is the
triple parentheses around the names? It used to be something that you said if somebody was Jewish. And then
triple 2, 3.
Yeah, I'm surprised you've never seen that.
I've never seen that.
Yeah.
I don't.
No, and it got co-opted. Well, first, obviously, it was originally adopted by the white supremacist groups, and then the Jews started doing it for themselves, and then it became a thing of pride, like, you know, reclaiming this and that. And so it's like, I don't know, these sarcastic ways.
And then the Daily Stormer picked up on it?
Well, Daily Stormer was the first one to do it.
Oh, okay.
That's where they came from.
Hey, dear CNN, you know when Daily Stormer is actually more credible and accurate about the world than you are? You've got a little problem.
Well, Daily Stormer is a honeypot.
I know it's a honeypot, but I'm saying it's still got more actually usable information than CNN.
My cat has more usable information than CNN.
That's what I'm saying. There's a big problem out there.
Yeah.
But the Daily Stormer is a joke. But as is most of these people. There's that guy. Do you ever see that guy, Gypsy Crusader or something like this?
No.
This asshole. Major fucking asshole. He's this guy down in Miami or down in Florida, something like that, who dresses up as the Joker and goes and trolls like African American people and calls them the N-word and stuff.
What?
And then he's got this huge following. I'm like,
wow,
this guy is a world-class douchebag, moron, idiot. Nothing interesting.
He's got to be getting paid.
He's got to be getting paid. Nothing interesting about anything that this guy has ever said. Nothing interesting, nothing clever, nothing smart, nothing nuanced, none of the qualities that are required in order to be a real activist, nothing. He just goes on and calls black people the N-word. And I'm sitting there going, why don't you fucking go kill yourself, you retard? I can't tell people how to hate, but this guy is a zero.
I mean, that's really not, I mean, doesn't accomplish anything. It's just...
If anybody here is a fan of this moron, you have to ask yourself some serious questions. Why? Like nothing about this guy. You better not be racist in this struggle we're facing, because we are all blacks. Remember that.
Yep, we're all blacks. We're all Palestinians too.
We're all Palestinians, and we're all blacks to the bankers.
And that's why they keep trying to atomize the downtrodden, or whatever you would call it, just for the alienated, the people.
Blacks versus white.
Yeah,
man
and
versus
they're
women.
really. I mean, that's why they hype so much on the Black Lives Matter. Whenever there's a clash between police and a person who gets shot or a person who gets otherwise injured, they never mention that, hey, white people get shot by cops too, or anything like that. It's just, now that we must give reparations to the black community, and yeah, sure, that one's really gonna go well with all of the poor people in whatever racial group that can't put food on their table and can't afford their homes. I mean, that's really gonna go great. Nobody's gonna fight over that.
Have you seen this? That's in the news. Vaccine envy. Have you seen this? They're pushing it. Yeah, what it is that the Jews media is pushing this new way to get idiots, and it seems to be working. There are a lot of people getting vaccinated. And they're having these vaccine envy, where it's like, oh, I envy the people that got vaccine. If only I could get it. And then you might have these soccer mom, Karen, retard idiots in the suburbs reading that, going, you know, my family and some smart, intelligent people, really intelligent people, are warning me. But look at these people on the TV. They're envious. They're envious of people. They have their certificate and they're so proud. Dude, you're going to be shitting your fucking body out your asshole in 6 months, man.
Yeah.
You're going to be sitting there 6 months from now going...
Or you're going to be standing there accepting your award on the stage and you're going to fall on your face.
What? Did you see that woman?
Yeah.
And
really
then, of course, whenever that
terrifying.
happens, everybody, the first question is, okay, when did she get vaccinated? The Dutch Department of Health, minister or whatever, this female, she's giving a news conference, and then she just goes, and her head, did you see the way her head slammed?
Yeah.
Dude, I'm surprised her crown didn't just open up, her brain spills out. It reminds me of a scene in American Dream where the guy falls flat on his face. All I'm saying is that everybody goes, okay, when did she get her vaccine? And of course now on the Joogle, this kind of information is the most difficult to get. So for example, when DMX, the famous rapper from Run DMC, died, right? His family said, yeah, he had the vaccine, and a news service said, yeah, he just got the vaccine, and he died, right? Now, boy, you type in this, and it's like all the fact checkers swarm in to fucking say, no proof he took the vaccine and stuff. And so it's getting more and more difficult, and this is why you can no longer tell a normie, hey, listen, man, just go Google it.
Yeah, you can't even use that word.
Because the normie is going to say, well, I did try to Google it, and the fact checker told me you were wrong. So it's like, well...
They must have AI working on that too, because that stuff shows up so quick.
That's right. Well, we need to form another internet search engine that excludes the Jewish news networks and just gives you credible information, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that may. What's that?
What kind of TV?
Just a regular Lipton.
Lipton.
Or Earl Grey.
Okay.
Or what needs to be done is it needs to be an open source, non-for-profit, and crowdsourced search engine that has as its core neutrality, right? So this way you can't have, because the problem with it is if you did have a private company that did actually make an accurate search engine, right? Oh, the Jewish billionaires would simply buy it like they buy everything, and then you'd be back to square one. I expect BitChute to suddenly get purchased because, like I said...
BitChute might already have been purchased. If you look at their incapability to actually run a search function all these years now, it's been years, and they've been saying, oh, we're going to have a search function any day now.
Yeah,
Where's their search
and
function?
there's a story around going that QVC bought it, but I don't believe it.
Oh, no, that's not.
That's a
QVC,
fake story.
Stupid, yeah.
That would be funny.
It would be. Yeah, you
shopping.
could buy your own. So somebody is like, I don't know, someone's showing off their automatic rifle, and they're like, you can get these parts for just a
spoon, so I could push my bag around. No pun intended. Push the bag around.
That sounds like an interesting euphemism, but I can't figure out what for.
Push
exactly.
that bag.
Pushing the bag. Speaking of pushing the bag, I mean, look at Joe Biden, basically having to be carried to the stage by his retinue. He didn't have to be carried, but, he's always got all of these people in the back of him, propping him up, and it's
what a mess.
Dude, this is not going to get any better.
Yeah, no. Poor Joe. Well, I don't like the guy, but he's fucked. Yeah. He's really fucked.
I don't see that getting any better. And how are they going to, are they just going to kill him? Is it going to be, he's going to have a vaccine reaction? I mean, he already had his vaccine, supposedly, and then obviously that didn't help, but...
No, he didn't have a vaccine.
I said supposedly.
Yeah, supposedly. They're giving him all placebos. And the thing about it is, when you see these famous people who are pushing the vaccine, and then they get their vaccines, you know that they're not going to risk giving them a real vaccine because it would be public relations. I mean, except for in the case of DMX, which was a public relations disaster. So guys, why don't you just, and that's why, and of course, Israel is not getting vaccinated. It's 100%.
That would be, that would not be happening.
No.
And they've made such a big point out of it that if they did suddenly start vaccinating everybody, it would just be like a catastrophe.
It would be catastrophe.
But then they've put out all these articles saying, well, there's all these parents that don't want to get their children vaccinated. Look how silly they are because everybody's doing just fine. And it's like, actually, no, not quite.
Well, a niece of mine just is a school teacher upstate New York, and she said that she was confronted by other teachers who said that saying she's not been vaccinated and this is going to be a problem, and she has no idea how they found out. Apparently, during student teacher night, or the PTA, whatever, the student teacher, one of the parents asked if she was vaccinated. She made a mistake of saying no. That parent then went on must have been the one who went on a mission to start to try to. This whole snitch mentality is just the worst.
That's one of the things that really terrifies me about, and going back to the choice of like, do you trust humans versus do you trust machines? This idea that we have to rat each other out if our peer does not vaccinate themselves or does not have this or that certificate. It's like, I mean, talk about when first they came for the et cetera, et cetera. I mean, I'm not going to go down that route, but it's just like, you can't, the certificate is not going to save you in the end. You're going to end up...
Well, it reminds me, I think the way it's going to be, and this is why I like to draw parallels between that old 1970s movie, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, in case...
Oh yeah, I've been drawing those parallels for a long time.
But when they see someone that's not one of them, they go, like they yell and their tongue comes out. And literally, that's what we see.
Yeah.
That's what
That's why I've been calling them pod people for a year now. I mean, they're pod people. There's no way around this. It's pods. And,
yeah, it is pod.
And they look like us and they talk like us, but they don't actually talk like us because they have this sort of overtone of like shrillness that's just waiting to get out, and you can kind of hear the shrillness in the back of their throat. And it's like, I don't want anything to do with these people, and it sucks because like these things are happening to our friends. These things are happening to people we love very much, and it's like. So what are you supposed to do? Just like walk around that topic, or I mean,
yeah. I think what it's doing is it's laying bare the bankruptcy that was already present in the system, and so we know. So all these people who we're getting to find out the true nature of our friends and which ones are defective.
I happen to acquire a copy of this, which is a hard copy dictionary from like 1997 or something like that. We're going to need these things because they are changing the definitions of words so quickly that if you go to...
Vaccination is the one word. I mean, no, herd immunity, rather.
Oh, yeah, that one got changed twice. The WHO changed it and then changed it back. Yeah, but these things, I mean, because not only are they going after the definitions of words that have to do with, like, racism and stuff like that, but they're also going after, as you said, herd immunity and things like that. And there's no what's the word? Accountability for who's doing this and why they're getting away with it. I had always joked that it was Wikipedia that was going to do it because there's a Wiktionary.com, which is the Wikipedia version of dictionary. And I figured, okay, well, that's going to be the one that really sends it over the edge. But nope, WHO is doing it itself. And I'm sure that Wiktionary will get around to it eventually, but we don't need them. They're just, it's really bad.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Wikipedia is the internal backbone of all of these definition changes too. They've partnered with WHO and everything, and with fucking Cass Sunstein, and seriously.
That's how I knew Vox.com was really slimy.
Oh, they had him on.
They had him on early in the career there when they first opened up. And Cass Sunstein gave his these people that disagree with this government, these loony conspiracy theorists. They're just really delusional people who need to find simplistic... This is like the standard explanation.
Oh, yeah, I know.
They need to find simplistic explanations for complex things. And so we must... No. Actually, it's just the opposite. Your fucking story about Islamic terrorism, that's the simplistic story. The complex story is the... Yeah,
they just need something simple to let them go to sleep at night. It's something, it makes them happier to just know that there's these, it makes them happier to know that there's these many tentacled powers that could just kill them in the middle of anything. How does that make you happier? I mean, I don't get it.
Yeah, well, I mean, they got him up there. Cass Sunstein wrote a whole book about that.
Him and the Vermeulen dude, right?
Yeah. And then you got Ezra Klein, this slimy douchebag who runs Vox.com, the founder of Ezra Klein. Again, take the three. Again, this challenge goes to everybody now. I'm going to lay this out there. A challenge to Ezra Klein. Take the 3 best things you've ever done in your life. The 3 best things. And just randomly select 3 of my works over this last year. And then put it up to a randomly selected group of American citizens. And ask them what they trust more in terms of veracity, in terms of sheer amount of information that's credible information, and who they would trust more. This challenge is open to Vox.com. And that other guy, Matt, what's his name? Matt, the fat guy, the Iglesias?
Iglesias.
This guy is Matt Iglesias is such an unappealing, he's like this fat, like gay sounding, like he's trying to sound effeminate, I guess, is because he thinks that this is the way to disarm the liberal class. That the more effeminate
he's trying to hide behind this minority display.
And sort of like gender bending of femininity, but I was like, is he gay? Apparently not. He got kids.
Oh, I thought he was supposed to be pretending to be gay.
Oh, was it? I know.
I don't know. I
don't even know. There's the fact that they're the Jewish bankers, because that's the only reason Vox exists, because the Jewish financial system
took them a lot of money to get that domain.
Yeah. It's not even that. It's that it was Comcast and Rockefeller Foundation that's fronting, that's putting up GE. They were a front for GE. Okay, so the ones.
Yeah, and they've got that little technology section brought to you by the Rockefeller Foundation. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, well, you just gave that one away.
Well, they used to have to brand every single video they make with the GE logo at the end. Brought to you by Joe.
I kind of remember that. Do they still do that?
I don't know if they still do. Maybe they said, hey, that's not working out. People might suspect.
Well, it's like what they did in Guardian, like when before Magufuli, the president of Tanzania, before he died, his murdered. Mysterious death, they had a whole big article about, we need to reel in this this anti-vaxxer guy because he's really dangerous, and it was like had a big brand underneath it saying sponsored by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. It's like, really, guys? You just say, hey, we're gonna kill this guy, watch us. Yeah, basically what they said.
Unbelievable.
That should really be investigated, and the fact that it's not going to be is really, Bill Gates should be hauled before the International Criminal Court. That's not going to happen, but it really should be.
Yeah. Well, I did a show last night about the Reiner filmic interview with this woman who was supposedly a Holocaust survivor, and she's talking about the structures in place. She made an extraordinary amount of good points. I don't know how much of it you saw.
I didn't really get very far into that video, but...
But one of the points she was making, which was very interesting, was that during the rise of the Nazis, it was actually the medical establishment which was completely in sync with the Nazis. So it was the medical establishment which really paved the way, facilitated, provided the justification for eugenicics, the killing of the infirm or the mentally infirm or just what undesirable elements in society. It was the medical world that did it, right? That provided Hitler with the moral justification to do what he did. Okay.
And that came straight from the U.S.
Right. So she's and that's right. That's where eugenicism has their birth. Now, that'll be another conversation. We can have that conversation after this, actually, and we should, right? But she's outlining that the banking structures and the money system, but she doesn't mention that the medical system in the United States, the banking system in the United States, the media, all of these facilitators are primarily Jewish. She fails to mention that. And this is a thing that you see with Jewish people, even ones who are speaking out and who appear to be on our side, like people like Naomi Wolf. She's very articulate. She'll talk about the problem, but she will never point to the fact that this is actually fundamentally the mechanics, the people with their hands on the levers of this destruction, of this of this fascism. She'll never say that the people with the hands on the controls of it are Jewish.
This is why I can't
Mostly.
never get quite fully behind Naomi Wolf. For one thing, she lived in Israel for like 2 or 3 years, or something like that. And she'll never go that final mile and really point to what's the problem. That her whole thing about, oh, well, if I had known that Biden was going to be the guy who was big lockdown man, I never would have voted for him. And it's like, hello, he only said that every single time he was put on stage or somebody else talked for him. I mean, that there was no hiding that. So she hides a lot of things while claiming to be this like speaker of truth, and she does speak a lot of truth, and I'm glad that she's
doing a good job
now. She's able to get on like Tucker Carlson, whatever, talking about things that we really need to be hearing about. But it's just like, why did you wait so long? What is the point of this? Like, the waiting so long is the problem, because we don't have time. We really have no time at all. We have no time to waste, and if we're gonna sit around twiddling our thumbs for a couple months and then maybe jump into the ring, well, sorry,
no, time is running out,
yeah.
and this is what I'm telling people, that this is the mountain to die on right now, and if we don't win this battle, it's all over. There's no more battles after this. So you will be a controlled slave population, and people like my sister are quite happy to go like sheep to the wolves. She's happy, proud to show her vaccination, I'm sure.
That is so terrifying, because
so terrifying.
I mean, that's what I wrote in the end of Cynthia McKinney's book, the chapter that I wrote for it, is that basically this is, if we don't step in here, there is no way of going back. The humanity will be locked into this species, this subspecies, robotic hybrid thing that you can't undo it. It's a
low
big
battery.
problem. Let me get...
I'll get the plug lined up here. Yeah. Oh no! Shit! The book fell over and the water spilled.
Well, water can stay there, and you don't need to do anything.
Okay. Plug that baby in, and you can plug it right into this one right here.
This one plugged in. I don't know if this one's plugged into the other thing. This one is plugged in.
Close that. All right, we're back. Are we still broadcasting here? How many people we got? 178. Okay.
We're back.
Yeah. And I realized a lot of that. I realized that there was a pattern in a lot of the people who. Is that a dead mouse, or is that a mouse toy?
Where?
That's
that's a vibrating mouse.
Oh, okay. I realized that one of the patterns that I've recognized in the investigative journalists and personalities who have been murdered and who they said that committed suicide is that they were all investigating the child sex networks, right? And so you can investigate a lot of things, but when you investigate that one, your life is in danger. And what are those, that Jen something or other, what was that girl's name? Jen, she was in Washington, D.C., a journalist, and she was covering around the same time as Isaac Cappy was. There was these two girls. Two.
Oh yeah, I think you told me about this. Was the
I'm surprised we don't know their names, because these were two girls that were doing work like what we do.
And didn't their stuff, like, wasn't it focused on widely? Like
it was child abuse. It was a child abuse network.
Yeah, but there were other people looking at it too.
That's right. And then they mysteriously died, and they said, "Oh, suicide." No, it wasn't. There was no indication that these people. And that's why I'm saying that people in our business, and I'll say it every show now. By the way, never in my life would I consider suicide. Not in a million years. Nope. Never have I.
No, nor will I.
Yeah,
it's not something that we're interested in. We have so much work to do to save this world. Why would we want to exit it?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's things that I'd rather be doing than sitting there writing. And as you know, and we'll tell this story to our viewers. I'm like, in January of last year, I'm like, Helen, don't be talking about Jews and stuff, because we're going to have a difficult time selling our paintings, because we're like artists and musicians and stuff, and so we want to sell our paintings. So I said, don't talk about Jews, because we're going to have to sell our paintings for a lot of money, and Jews control the art world. Right? First of all, the bottom line is that my paintings are going to be the most valuable paintings. So if there's any Jewish billionaires out there, actually,
They'll probably get a kick out of your stuff.
Yeah, they'll love my stuff. And like I said, I don't have problems with Jewish billionaires who are collecting art. I don't have problems with Jewish people in general. Just the Jewish control of the money supply and the Jewish control of the media. That's
the thing is that they're actually going after the art, the ones who are not interested in art, because plenty of Jewish people have beautiful souls and they love art and they love music, and there are so like Yasha Heifetz was one of the greatest violinists of all time. I could go into great Jewish violinists. Like the list is hugely long, but
Itzhak Perlman, Yehudi Menuhin.
I saw Itzhak Perlman live when I was a kid. He was amazing.
I saw Yasha Heifetz, baby.
Oh man,
in a very small room.
I was too young for that.
Yeah,
I wish I had gotten this.
Only a few hundred people, maybe a little teeny.
Cool.
Room.
Yeah, but I mean the ones who are interfering and these NFT, this horrible bastardization of what art is supposed to be.
NFT is not art, and we're going to have to do a show just to address Sotheby's and Christie's, because they pulled this bullshit 60 million NFT purchase for that guy Beebles, right?
Yeah.
No, you're not going to want to buy Vapor. No, NFT. I'll never insult you with an NFT painting. You'll get a fucking real painting. But this is Christie's and Sotheby's trying to set up the next phase of cashing in, right? On cult of personality alone, minus the tangible object.
It's also you're living in your pod apartment. You don't have room for all your nice stuff that they would like you to buy in your pod.
Well, that's for us. The billionaires will always have their.
Yeah, but I mean a pod apartment is a pod apartment. There'll always be people who are at some point straddling the two things.
The two worlds of being able to afford a wealthy.
Not a wealthy one, but like a something that you would buy maybe off the street.
True.
Like there's
no room for it.
Yeah.
No room for it. Well, you know what it is. Most of the art that's purchased. Oh, and by the way, that latest Da Vinci, the Signus Mundi, the famous, recently discovered Leonardo da Vinci painting that the art world. Don't you remember the Signus Mundi has Christ going like this? They said it was a recently found one, and then there was debate on whether it was real or not.
Okay.
And then the thing was caught in an art sale by that Russian oligarch. Who ended up suing because he was overcharged for it. It's like, dude, you bought the fucking thing at an inflated price, but it was a scam. But anyways, the thing ended up going back up for sale and became the most expensive artwork ever, 500 million, right?
Wow.
Now it's hanging on the yacht of a Saudi prince, right? Yeah.
I'm sure he really appreciates the painting.
Now, and I hope it's I hope it's at least a humidity-controlled room, because I would hate to see the Signus Mundi. Yeah, because if it's in a yacht and they take that yacht to the fucking humid environment,
it's
and
gonna be
the
a mess.
paint
Total
starts
mess.
peeling off that fucking thing, man.
No, you can guarantee if it's a Saudi billionaire on his yacht, he doesn't really give a shit about art. He wants to have the image of having a person who gives a shit about art. It's not the same thing.
Listen, I if there's any Saudi billionaires, contact me for the real paintings, and you're gonna get your
prove that you're the one Saudi billionaire who does really care about art. You could be the envy of all your friends.
No, but I think I still have confidence that my paintings are going to be the most expensive paintings. But especially in a world where you have these con artists selling NFT homes for supposedly, no way did you get that money?
Well, that's the thing, is that once you start with buying digital homes, then the sky's the limit, because you can furnish that whole room with all of the scammiest scam stuff. I mean, you don't have to just start with what you put on your walls. You can have nice furniture, or you can have like a giant vibrating dildo that's so massive that like you and all your friends can get involved. I mean, it'll be really vile and ew.
Yeah, but again though, this is all the whole NFT non-fungible tokens. And for anybody who doesn't know this, this is the latest scam in the whole world of scams, where they're conditioning. This is they're initiating this scam with the rich, but the target of this scam is not the rich, because the rich can afford real tits real hookers, real coke, real sneakers. Okay, this is ultimately targeted toward the middle class of poor, which they know they're getting us ready for a world where we are basically migrant laborers with
they're about to pull the plug.
About to pull the plug, and they know that they are going to own the and we see it right now. There's articles in the New York Times saying, well, you know, a young couple that's is looking for a house, they got to compete with BlackRock, and I looked again. I said, you mean Blackstone? No, BlackRock. So now listen, Blackstone was the private equity firm that actually bought the homes in the 2008.
Yeah.
Okay, and BlackRock was not particularly into it.
No.
Now it's both of them, yeah. So BlackRock is giving. So now the United States government is basically giving free money to BlackRock so that they can outbid American young American couples for suburban homes.
Like I said, this was what happened to people in my family, that they've been looking for homes and they've been finding that things are being bought sight unseen.
Okay. Now, and a lot of them are going to Jewish private equity firms that are buying them, and this is in sync with the UN Agenda 21 of 30 years ago, and this is what in 1992 that was signed, right? And this is how you know that the pieces of this puzzle, the pieces of this conspiracy have been put in place over the course of decades now. And you have to understand, and this is the same thing with China. China has they have a 30-year plan. They're planning on things now that will materialize in 2049, right? And this is and it's split into 15-year plans. The American politician, by comparison, he's just concerned about how much Jew money he could put in his pocket tomorrow. He doesn't care about the day after tomorrow. It's what I can get in my pocket immediately. So you don't think that the Chinese, who have a 30-year plan, or in this case, the Jewish banking system of the Rothschilds, who has been around for 250 years, you don't think these people who are putting in these decades-long plans are going to have an advantage over a bunch of con artists who Shabbos Goy in Washington, D.C., that are just going nickel to nickel, day to day. How much can they fill up in my bank account? We're going to lose.
Well, this is the problem, is that we've got a whole political system in the U.S. full of short-termers, is the phrase that you used, and I think that you've got all of these people are pushing 80, 90 years old, and so most of them don't have children either, and so they're going to, do they really care about what the planet's going to look like in 20 years? No, they're not going to be there. Nobody that they know is going to be there, so the older they get, the less they care, and this is something that is really, it's not the way in other countries, because other countries have a fully cohesive culture, at least some of them do, and Russia or even China, I don't think China is fully a mercenary situation. I think that they have an actual culture there too, and they are just trying to keep things, and it's unfortunate that they have such a powerful surveillance state too, because if China was not a complete surveillance state, we might want them to win, but no, not really. No, don't like it.
No, it would be nice if there was a foreign country. One of the most promising countries, though, really is Russia in terms of freedom. But
there's some problems there.
There's some problems there. You go to a Russian nightclub, and it's like, maybe I went to the wrong Russian nightclubs, but it was a bunch of meatheads.
I don't know. Is Ekaterinburg known for, any sort of alternative?
No, I went to Moscow.
Oh, you were in Moscow?
Yeah, too, and nothing. But yeah, no, Ekaterinburg was worse than Moscow. I'll say that. In Moscow, yes, there was some fancy people. Ekaterinburg, I at least didn't bump into them.
And you saw when you were out at Tatiana's the floor show that they were trying to put on, just because they hadn't had a show there in so long, and that woman with the dress and the shrieking.
I appreciate them.
I liked that.
I liked that. Interesting.
It was like they're really trying to get this thing back on track, and it's just just because you weren't really in the mood to be loudly sung at, that doesn't mean that other people weren't. It was a Saturday night. These people wanted to have some fun, and I can't say
the Russians have a little bit of dignity, and you know what? They're not just sucking on the dick of the bankers. I'm sorry, I think if you're a banker and you come into town, you start fucking trying to sabotage, they'll probably kill you. Here we just suck their dicks, because we're
it's a short-termer thing.
Short-termers.
Nobody's gonna. Who's the oldest one? One of them is 92 or something. Somebody in Congress is 92.
Oh, what about Maxine Walters? Did you see Maxine Waters tell Jim Jordan to shut his mouth the other day?
Yeah.
I would have said, you hold your
You would have
mouth.
walked over and fucking bitch slapped her, but
I mean, come on. But you know what it is? Whenever I hear Rand Paul or Jim Jordan or any of these people who are standing up for our rights, they never hit the salient points.
No.
Never.
no, because they have their own little problems there that they.
Yeah. And they all have masks on, so it's like you're gonna try to.
Well, I think Rand Paul
He doesn't wear the
he
mask?
doesn't do it because he already had supposedly the virus months ago, and so he's making points that he doesn't have to wear one, and it's like, okay, yes but no, but yes but
You know,
no.
all the people that have been all along saying there is no virus, you know, I'm starting to sort of see that might be the case. It's just a common cold, basically. But on the other hand, it would defy Occam's razor because they have all the lethal
Yeah, no,
pathogens.
I think
so-
that there was something. I
Yeah.
just don't think that it was a very strong something. I think it was designed to kill off the elderly, and it
Yeah.
did a very good job of that.
Occam's razor, in this case, being the path of easiest explanation, is probably the probable one. The easiest explanation is to actually use one of their grade 4 lab creations, you know, grade 4 ultra lethal pathogens, rather than try to create a total fiction. No, they have enough to actually.
It would be a large difficulty for them because they didn't have anything that it was coming on the back of. It's like, I mean, I've said before that there are three like possibilities for uniting the whole world in a sort of fake global movement, and the one would be climate change, which hasn't been working. I mean, people, yeah, there's like the little children and whatever. Greta is leading her army of children of the corn there, but that's not really working for adults and not for people who have cars and things that run on gas and whatnot. And then the other one is a pandemic, and so that was here. And then the last result is the alien invasion.
Yeah,
They haven't
asteroid attack.
Yeah, they
I've
haven't
seen
done
it.
that one. They haven't done that
No,
one
CNN
yet.
had a whole story about asteroid.
Oh,
There's an
great,
asteroid.
another one?
Yeah. I don't know if you saw that. one.
There's a lot of asteroid stories. There's a lot of alien stories. And the Pentagon has been coming out with shitloads of stories
UFOs.
going, hey, UFOs, look at this, look at this. We got aliens. Hey guys, look at the aliens. Don't pay no attention to that fake virus
Pay no
over there.
attention to Fauci and his partner Drasek. You know about this guy Drasek from
The guy in Germany?
Eco Health Alliance? No.
Oh.
Basically, the walls might be closing in on that slimy
really?
piece of shit, Fauci. Because make no mistake about it, Fauci is the central figure in this sabotage of our culture. He is the central figure. That's why the Jewish media are rallying around with smiles saying, you're the hero, you're our God. As the walls close in on Fauci, it looks like Fauci may be going down. Let me explain. So we have the proof that he, in 2014, Obama made it against the law to do gain-of-function research.
Yes.
There was a ban on it because, and I'd like to know the process by which that occurred, because that's actually a pretty good call there, Obama administration. Okay, so somebody within the Obama administration said, bucked the 30-year trend in the health establishment, in the deep state establishment, because the health right now is just another instrument of the deep state, of the Jewish money power. Okay, so he had the good foresight to ban gain-of-function research. Well, Fauci didn't ban it. We have the research papers, and we have that he then subcontracted out, and of course this is how they do it all the time. And we see over and over again in this conspiracy, this network of conflicting star-shaped networks, but it's also like it's like I call them loop-back stars, where because you have to look at network topology to understand the complexity in the banking system, the complexity in the conspiracy. It's a network topology. That's the only way you could provide a cohesive understanding of this, is if you look at the structure of the network, and the same goes for the banking as goes for this. So it's a network that's purposefully complex so that the complexity alone shields culpability, liability, responsibility, and moral getting judged morally and legal ramifications. So we see the structure of the compartmentalization of the gain-of-function research to this creepy guy named Drasek, I think is the name, Drasek from the Eco Health Alliance. Pull him up. And for investigators out there, we need to all take a close look at this. I think his name is Peter Drasek or something. Health Alliance.
Peter Drasek.
Peter Drasek. I'm sorry. Drasek. Echo Health. Okay. So this may be one of the keys to break that. This may be the walls closing in on their story. So let's take a look a little bit about Peter Drasek, I think it is. And then when they asked Peter Drasek to explain why because Fauci, to try to shield responsibility, he subcontracted out to Drasek from this Echo Health Alliance, right? $6 million, right? Then Drasek was the guy who contracted it out to the Wuhan lab. Okay, so what we see here is the defraying, the pushing away of responsibility and culpability, right? Because this is all about shielding yourself from culpability, responsibility. Okay, we see them sending it to the Wuhan lab, which was, for all intents and purposes, was not a Wuhan lab. It was a United States deep state lab that just so happened to be located in Wuhan, China. But it was financed by the French. It was financed by the NIH. It was, we built the Wuhan lab. So you can call it the Wuhan lab. It's just like that lab that was in Russia.
Oh,
right?
yeah, the
Georgia
Lugar Center.
Right, and next to, in the country, Georgia, which was on the border of Russia, right? That, what's that center called?
Lugar Center.
The Lugar Center, right? The Richard Lugar Center. This is a United States, deep state bioterror development operation. But since they put it in another country, they think that that's good enough to evade culpability. And again, this is what we see in the network topology of the banking system. I'm working on a way to express this in a way that most people could understand. Because you need to look at it visually. You need to look at the interconnections of it, and you can see it's either a star-shaped topology, or it's a linear topology, or it's this bow tie topology where there's a central point in the middle, and then you see these two branches come outwards, and each branch is mediated by one key force. Well, this is how the Rothschilds run the banking system. The Rothschilds sit at the core of the central banks because they invented it. Not really invented it. The Bank of England was around in 1698, and supposedly the Rothschilds got their grip on it by the mid-1700s, something like this. Okay, but the bottom line is that most subsequent national banks were Rothschild's instruments, most of them, right? The architecture of the central banking system, the architecture of the sale of government bonds, right? That's a Rothschild business. Government bonds was a Rothschild's deal, right? And that's how. And how do we know that? Because it was Mayor Amschel Rothschild that sat in the stock exchange when Napoleon was having his war, and it was when Napoleon lost that battle, he pretended that Napoleon won that battle against Wellington, and then he started fake selling government bonds, British government bonds, and then the people who were observing Mayer Amschel Rothschild on the floor of the British Stock Exchange at the time, which was nothing more than just a big room with a bunch of Jews in suits and pieces of paper in their hands, and Mayer Amschel Rothschild is selling his paper, his bonds, his holdings of the bonds of the Bank of England, not of the Bank of England, of British Empire. He was selling British Empire bonds in the beginning of the day, signaling to the other brokers that Wellington had lost and Napoleon had won, when in fact Wellington won, right? And then halfway through, he had his agents go and fucking buy up all the British bonds cheap, because everybody started emptying their bonds in the British Empire, in the the government bonds. They started, and then he bought them all up and made a killing, right? You go to a fact checker right now, and these slimy motherfuckers will say that wasn't a true story. You can look in any books that was printed from the and I have them, I have actual copies of books from the 1800s that describe exactly what happened when Rothschild made his big move to own all these bonds of the British government. Well, dude, nowadays, like everything, oh, that never happened, like, it can't be proven, and all these statements that of all these people now that really actually happened, pretty soon, and this is why we have to get proof of. They'll say, oh, there's this guy, Harry's claiming that in 2014 he predicted, oh, that's not true. And
well, I saw what they're trying to do with the Rockefeller document. They're trying to say that it doesn't exist, and they go with like really stupid things, like, oh, there was something. Okay, there's no such thing as Project Lockstep. Okay, nobody's saying there was a thing as Project Lockstep.
They build a straw man and then they attack the straw man.
That's the stupidest thing. But what's interesting here is going back to this Peter Drasek guy, is that he's insisting that this was not, there's no possibility that this was related to a lab leak at all. Yet the guy himself has got so many military links. He's the one guy who is a former commander of Fort Detrick, and he's the only one who's connected with that and to this WHO subsidiary here. And he's also worked closely with Judith Miller. Of course, everybody loves Judith Miller and her fucking bullshit. I mean, the fact that Judith Miller and, what's the guy? Now I'm forgetting. The guy who was, the guy who first started making the comments, the Israeli guy, that was saying that, oh, well, the Chinese can't handle their bioweapons. I'm going to forget his name, but it's in my article.
Well, and of course, he was debunking the lab escape theory in February of 2020, which no one could have known because there was no investigation. So the fact that this whole thing is unfolding in phases. So they wanted to stop any possibility of the lab story because they know that would get closer to what had happened, right? Okay, so now what you're seeing is Fox and some other news networks are introducing the lab, that is, right?
Yeah, but and then they're introducing it again because this was already in February they were saying this, and then it kind of slipped away and they started focusing.
But if you notice, every single story from every single person that's saying this looks like it came from a lab, they all say, but it absolutely was not intentional release. They say that.
Yeah.
How? Okay, like before, how do you know that? Again, so it's this controlled release, but they're only going to take it to that far. And that's why Harry has been saying since day one, this was Israeli intelligence got the samples from Fort Detrick's and or the North Carolina Chapel Hill Grade 4 lab. Israeli intelligence ran the scenario where they were gonna release it in Wuhan. They were the ones who decided, look, this is perfect for us because the Belt and Road is coming. The Americans, we've already sucked every nickel out of the economy. So here's what we're gonna do. Israeli intelligence is going to take the virus and they're going to dump it in the outskirts of Wuhan. The brainless Jewish American mainstream media will, of course, go, or any thinking person first will go, oh, well, there's a grade 4 lab that deals with coronavirus in Wuhan. Therefore, it must be the Chinese. That's that's how the natural human thought process proceeds. Okay, so but see, there's a little bit of a problem there. You see, so because the players who are involved, players like Fauci and Drasek, or whatever his name is, right? Since they were the ones who facilitated that, it doesn't really look good for their narrative. So you have a couple competing narratives here. Okay, so when you have these competing narratives, some people are covering their ass, but yet they have other people who are sabotaging that because they want to do a different narrative. And each person trying to manage their own narrative is not copacetic with the other narrative. So there are competing narratives at the very highest level of this. Okay, so Fauci and Drasek don't want to go down and end up in a prison cell where they belong. Because right now, I would say that Fauci is the guy that the U.S., and I'm calling on U.S. military personnel here, and I'm calling on independent intelligence operatives from the United States, France, Germany, Italy, Denmark, Sweden, like the former Russia rather, China. I'm calling on intelligence agencies. Forget that your boss. He works for the Jewish banking system. Forget him, right? I'm talking about independent investigators and who are within these agencies and within these militaries. You need to understand that it's Fauci. Anthony Fauci is the key figure between the billionaire Jewish banking class and the people who are running this operation. Fauci is fundamental player here. And then we now caught his little side guy, his little butt boy, Drasek. That guy, I would say you get him, you tie him down, and you put the sodium pentothal in that guy, and we start getting the story from Drasek, because that's the guy who knows exactly what he's pulled off.
And it's interesting that his narrative is so closely parallel to this Danny Shohan. That's the guy whose name I was trying to recall. The guy who was there back in 2001 doing the anthrax scenario with Judith Miller, and now who's his counterpart, this Peter Drasek. They all seem to just come back at the same time. That Shohan was the one who, back in, before anybody could have known, was releasing papers talking about Saddam Hussein's anthrax horde that didn't exist. And now he came out right as this whole scenario was happening, saying that those Chinese, they just can't handle their bioweapons. They're so silly and yeah.
They the guy who actually set up the germ study to basically weaponize viruses that did not have very pathogenic properties. The purpose of gain of function is to take something that's rather benign and not very harmful and turn it into an ultra-lethal pathogen. Oh, gee, thanks, United States government, for creating human-destroying pathogens that didn't previously exist. Thanks, guys. That's really helpful.
We just had to do it so somebody else didn't do it.
It's to help us, of course, because we need to study these things. No, it's dual function, and we already have established that. It's as if the guys say, hey, what we're going to do is we're going to run a simulation where we take a bunch of explosions and we blow a hole in the safe and we steal all the money, right? And then suddenly the next day the hole gets blown in the safe. And
gosh, what a coincidence!
Gee, what happened to the money?
How could that possibly?
Shit! I mean, it was that's what's going on. Dual use, dual function. You could say, hey, we want to develop this ultra-lethal pathogen that just kills off people we don't like, right? Okay.
Israel was trying to do that in 1998.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And we can get into that story, right? But we want to do that, Joe, to study how to protect us from that, right? And that's how they end up contravening all these conventions to not do that. We only have 20 international treaties that say you are not allowed to create pathogens that can kill humankind. They say, no, we're not doing that.
We're just trying to stop the pathogens that can stop the pathogens.
Yeah, but first we have to create it, you see. We first have to create several metric tons of it.
Yeah, because, somebody could just get a hold of all of this, or they could invent it first, or, maybe that guy over there, you have no idea how many bioweapons he's got under his bed.
And then scientists from the American Federation of Sciences, they're saying loud and clear, this is a very well-known process called dual use. And dual use means you develop something that you're not allowed to do and you claim it's for some other purpose, but we know that the purpose is a nefarious purpose. Now, what is this purpose? Now, we see the players involved are eugenics. We're going to have this conversation also. Let me finish up with Drasek, and you can remember to tie us back to eugenics. Okay. With this guy, Peter, was his name Peter Drasek? Drasek. Okay. From the Eco Health Alliance, right? This is the guy who Fauci used as the maybe the fall guy, let's say, like that to push responsibility away, to again, in this never-ending process that we see over and over again in the United States government, is layer upon layer upon layer to shield each layer from culpability and from liability, and responsibility. So they give it to this guy Drasek. He subcontracts out this forbidden, banned procedure out to the Wuhan lab. That is essentially our lab. It's the United States' lab. It's our lab. He does it out to them, and then when this whole shit hits the COVID fan, right, they send him over to investigate, to do the investigation to determine whether it escaped from the lab or not. And he says, nothing to see here, move along. Well, of course he's going to say that because he was the guy who commissioned it. So they put the guy, it's like putting the cat in front of the goldfish bowl and say, hey, listen, take care of the goldfish. And the cat's like, thanks, I'll see you later. And then the fish is like, no. So you don't allow the criminal to investigate his own criminality. If you do, if you ask the rapist, hey, did you rape that girl? He said, I checked my records that day. No, I didn't rape her.
That's Dershowitz.
That's Dershowitz. Yeah, of course.
Yikes.
No, but to get to the... and we see over and over again, they putting this Drasek guy. Now, part of this could be, and I guess we have to get the word out to Drasek. Hey, looks like they're gonna like throw you under the wheels, Drasek, and maybe he starts whistling too. Because if you look at interviews with this guy, he's a fucking low-life piece of shit, this guy. Okay. He's such a wormy, little rat, right? He's the guy that we got to get to. And if Drasek starts singing, the whole house...
then it's all over.
It's all over. And so they either... I would think that, dear Drasek, your life is in danger. Yeah. You might have a heart attack, Drasek, so you better talk. Because if you don't talk, Drasek, guess what? They're going to kill you, I think. I think they might just get rid of Drasek.
If he's that undependable, I would have to watch a video of him. I hadn't heard about this guy until just now.
Yeah, so, he's a cheese ball. And he's such a rat. And this is part of the strategy that we have to do. We have to turn rat against rat.
That's what I've been saying, to use their divide and conquer techniques on themselves. On them.
Yeah, because they're all rats. Fauci is a world-class rat. He's a little rat. He's a little rodent. He's a total rodent, like a cockroach. A total cockroach, this guy.
Hey, cockroaches have some winning capabilities.
Fauci hates human beings so much because God made him 5'2", right? And Fauci's dick is about an inch and a half long. And when you have an inch and a half long penis, I'm sorry, you hate humankind. He's got a teeny little Fauci cock. Okay, so any man who 5'2", grew up in Bensonhurst. Bensonhurst, Brooklyn is one of the toughest fucking places. So I guarantee you, they were like, you little fucking twerp, you fucking little, they would have called him.
They would have made fun of him in a lot of racial slurs and not racial slurs, but slurs in general. Slurs.
They would have called him every name in the book in Bensonhurst. Okay, Bensonhurst. When he was growing up, you would get killed in Bensonhurst for being black. It was enough to get you killed in Bensonhurst. So
that's why he loved being put in charge of the AIDS epidemic.
It was that epidemic to kill off black people. Okay, so then he wants to get revenge. Fauci wants to get revenge on the God who made him 5'2". So he takes up basketball. Right?
Wait,
yeah,
what?
He becomes like a basketball player, right? Okay,
Did this happen?
Star player, in his Jesuit university.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so he goes to a Jesuit university, becomes a basketball player, right?
Oh my God.
Yeah, overcompensation.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm surprised he didn't get like a Jaguar XJ12 because they're really long. They resemble human penises. So you'd think that he's got to like sort of augment the.
Maybe he had one and got stolen. It's possible.
He is such a little slimy little rat. But they're propping that little rat up. Rachel Maddow, the CNN and stuff. They're propping this little rat up. This little rat, Fauci, spent 30 years doing deals with giant pharmaceutical companies to make antidotes to the highly pathogenic pathogens that he was inventing. Yes. So he would invent pathogens that he didn't actually invent it. Carrie Mullis, the Nobel Prize winner, says Fauci's an idiot, doesn't know.
Can't science his way out of a paper bag.
No, he doesn't. Fauci doesn't even know how to perform electron microscopy. So he doesn't even know the basics of biological processes. Fauci is not a scientist. He's He's
PR
an
agent.
administrator. He's a PR man for the billionaire bankers. So Fauci is the banker, like inside guy, but he's not a scientist. But he pretends he's a scientist until real scientists like Judy Mikovits and Carrie Mullis call him out for the fraud that he is. He's a total fraud, and real scientists. Judy Mikovits is a real scientist. Don't worry about what the Jewish Wikipedia says about her. And what's the formula? The more times the Wikipedia uses the word discredited, debunked, and
the better you are.
The better you are. So congratulations to Judy Mikovits. She has probably the worst Wikipedia page in the world. That's how you know.
No, Gary Knowles is pretty bad too.
Pretty bad, yeah. But this is how you know you can trust a person. So Judy Mikovits, congratulations. You have one of the most fucked up Wikipedia pages in the world. That's how we know you can be trusted. Right? Pretty good formula, yeah. And so with Fauci, here's a guy who spent all these years cashing in, right, on developing human killing pathogens that previously did not exist, and then doing deals with his pharma giant buddies cronies to make antidotes for them. Oh, that's what he did for 30 years. He's not a doctor. He's not America's doctor. He's America's bioterrorist. And the sooner that an independent group within the FBI, the Central Intelligence, the National Security Administration, and I do not believe that everybody in the FBI is as big a piece of shit as Christopher Wray, the leader. I can't believe that. There are some people that have a brain, and
it does. I mean, the thing is that this whole scam, this whole complete turning inside out of the U.S. government in terms of its purpose has been going on for so long that it's like at this point, yeah, maybe if you were 20 years ago, you might have wanted to be the hero or whatever. But now, if you're going into the FBI, you're doing it because you like to rob and steal, and
really? Maybe they've ferreted them all out.
It's not even that they ferreted them all out. It's just that the ones who had any future got disgusted and left, and then the ones who didn't, they stayed in and cashed in.
Right.
I mean, I hope that it's not like that, but it just seems to me that, like, after 20 years, 9/11 was more than 20 years ago, that if people are still after that going and saying, yes, terrorism, fight, that, bad terrorist, evil, naughty, bad terrorist, it's like, you guys, 95% of the terrorists you caught on U.S. soil were entrapped by the FBI. So, guys, I'm afraid you're working for the wrong people.
No, exactly right. I'm not pulling much juice out of this bag here.
Well, you have to actually heat the tea.
Get another bag? Oh, okay.
Oh, you don't have to get another bag. You just turn the thing on.
Can I I can pull another cup out of this bag. Yes, you can probably
pull another cup out of that bag. I'll show you.
Pull another cup out of the bag. So, I mean, should you reuse this water? Because this water has, like, it's been bagged. Maybe I should just try a new bag.
I mean, you can do whatever you like, but it's made with filtered water. The water's going to be fine.
No, but I've already now pulled some juice out of this bag.
So you don't like tea? I don't understand.
No, I want tea, but I don't. If I throw this water out, then this bag's not going to have shit left in it.
Okay, whatever. It's up to you.
It's not. That bag's not going to have nothing left in it. You can only pull so much out of, like... I have this theory. If anybody who has a coffee machine, you grind I grind my own beans. That's a euphemism. Hey baby, come on, grind my beans, baby.
Come on, baby,
I grind
my beans. Come on, baby, grind my greens.
Come on, baby, empty my garbage. It's like that's what he was doing. Come on, baby, mow my lawn. And they're like, no, try something a little more. I don't know, a little more sexier. Like, come on, baby, take out the garbage. No, come on, baby, light my fire. Yes.
That's good. We don't have to say that the fire is from the garbage inside that we brought outside and dumped on the beach.
I think it's gonna work.
It'll work.
And the rest is history. But imagine that though. Jim Morrison sitting around. Come on, baby, light the cigarette, please. Come on, baby, change the.
Come on, baby, change my
bulb.
Diaper.
Change my what were we talking about before we went off on that tangent about the back? Coffee grinds. Life is like coffee grinds. You can only pull so much coffee out of the grinds. So you take your grinds You put them in the little thing, you stick them in the espresso machine, and you run about that much water through the machine, and you get a cup of coffee, right? Then you try to run.
Coffee is different than tea, though, because tea doesn't get sour if you run it through there too many times. Coffee does. What is she doing?
So that yeah, I'll try a new bag though.
Get the fuck off my shoe. Those are new shoes.
Come on, baby, wash my clothes. Dun, 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 dun. Come on, baby,
blow my nose.
Blow my nose. Come on, baby, do my dishes. Yeah.
Come on, baby, swim with the fishes.
Come on, baby, walk the dog.
Come on, baby, slop the hog.
Suck my log. Come on, baby.
Log for girls, log for boys.
Yeah. So we're coming to the center of the conspiracy here, right? We are narrowing it down. We're getting closer to the core of the crime. So let's stay there for a little while. So there is no question, Fauci is a key player in this crime of the century, possibly the biggest crime ever in human history.
Certainly the biggest crime of our lifetimes, I would say.
Gates, huge player, but he's going to be hard to pin down. My theory is that, like so many of the players I believe that sexually compromising blackmail is a big part of it. And
we've talked about this.
Well, there's and you can get a little bit of some of the details on this if you type in Cambridge Analytica Alexander Nix Ukrainian prostitute, right?
Oh, really?
Where we have a secretly filmed conversation with a British journalist who set up, this is the Cambridge Analytica, if anybody doesn't know, this is this intelligence operation, private intelligence operation that supposedly Steve Bannon is a fundamental part of. I don't believe Steve Bannon is a big, huge player in that organization. Maybe he lent his name to it. But it looks like it's a deep state operation, Cambridge. And what they do is they help tyrants stay in power. Yeah. By manipulating their elections.
Do you want another bag or not?
A fresh bag would be divine. Otherwise, it's just going to be really weak stuff. So, and we have a conversation which shows how this process works. So, the guy who's pretending to be a Sri Lankan opposition supporter of the president of Sri Lanka, and he's trying to get dirt, and he's asking, how do we do that? And then Alexander Nix, and it's on video, so it's not, you can't deny it, right? Of course, he's denying it.
Deny it anyway.
He'll deny it. He'll say, "Oh, I was just fooling around when he said that." He said, "We can set him up with some Ukrainian prostitutes, and then we could then submit that information on the internet, and then ruin your opposition's reputation." Okay, so Alexander Nix is a deep state operator, and he's promising somebody who's a potential client, right? And this is the people who ran the Donald Trump's election in 2016, Cambridge Analytica. They were the ones that did the underground work. So we have the CEO, Alexander Nix, promising that he's going to get you hooked up with Ukrainian prostitutes, of which any basic internet search shows that Ukrainian prostitutes and Ukraine in general have the highest rate of AIDS in all of Europe. So, hey, Alexander Nix and the deep state scum that you're working for, hey, thanks for the offer of the AIDS-ridden hooker. I appreciate it, right? But go fuck your mother, you piece of shit, Alexander Nix, for offering up a person with AIDS to have sex with somebody that you want to get money from. Alexander Nix deserves to go to jail, actually, right? Instead, the guy's still in business, man, and he's still.
I thought that they got shut down.
He's Cambridge Analytica isn't running anymore. Alexander Nix certainly is. He was the central figure of it, right?
Yep.
So this is the world you live in. And again, if there's any FBI agents watching, and there certainly are, of course, they're not going to pass up this show, right? This is what you have running the show. Guys like Alexander Nix offering AIDS prostitutes from Ukraine, disadvantaged people. What a piece of shit. Somebody should put a bullet in this fucking guy's head, man, right?
Yeah, fat chance.
Yeah, not going to happen. But I'm saying, if it did happen, you won't be missed, Alexander Nix. And by the way, take your Ukrainian prostitute and go fuck your mother, dude. Go fuck yourself, you piece of shit. These people don't deserve anything other than our disdain, our repugnant looks, our scowls. They deserve nothing more than that.
They've basically just shown humanity what not to be. I mean, they're providing a great example of how not to live your life.
But they're the ones who get all the money and all the
problem. That's the problem. Our kids are being taught to idolize these people because this is who has all the money. And
so
I mean, for generations, it's been okay. What do we value most highly in life? When you have kids who are 7 or 8 years old, who you ask them what they want to be, and they want to be this or that because that's the thing that makes the most money, and it's not because they want to be that thing. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, and I forget how the conversation came around to that, but I asked a relative, well, what's the job that makes the most money? And they said investment banker, and I said, why don't you do that? And it's like, okay, well, I don't know what the motivation behind my asking that was, but at that point, I had already internalized this idea that making large amounts of money was the meaning of life. And
did you ever consider being an investment banker?
No.
Okay.
I was 6 years old at the time.
But this was along the road of conditioning for this.
Yeah. I had to uncondition myself from that, basically, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, that's the value system in our society, is that the people with the money. But the question goes out to the FBI personnel who are watching this show right now, is ask yourself, do you have children? Were you a child once, right? If you have an organization like the FBI that at the very highest levels is compartmentalized in such a way that they don't permit the investigation into the Jeffrey Epsteins of the world until they can no longer avoid it anymore. The only reason Epstein went down is because the pressure had built so much that the protection that the FBI was giving Epstein all those 20 years of him flying underage girls around and having the billionaire class fucking rape them so that FBI control. If you think that you could build a society on that, if you believe that this is the way that to have a good society, and that the director of the FBI, because I mean you'd have to be doing it for somebody, like so who exactly? This is a good exercise to go through with FBI agents. Okay, so who exactly and what exactly are you working for? Are you working for the leader of the FBI, the guy who's got money from Blackstone Group and the Blackstone Group, the people who are bilking the retirees out of their pension funds and doing it legally? That's the guy. Like, who exactly? Like, what motivating force drives your? What is the nucleus force that drives your desire to get up every morning, go into office, and to do what? To build, to help defend a society that's going to be a healthy society for your children, right? Do you care about your children? Do you care about children, right?
Yep, that's basically, and it also goes into what I was saying before about the trusting humans versus trusting machines. If your entire life consists of trying to get one over on somebody before they get one over on you, no wonder people don't trust other human beings.
Yeah.
You're literally, like, your whole idea of life is trying to snitch out your fellow snitches so that you aren't the one who ends up in the bottom of the snitch pile. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's very important. And the thing about the children, too. I mean, this is... If we're really worshipping money, then shouldn't we be voluntarily sending our children into these meat grinders?
But the thing about it is the average FBI agent's only getting $120,000. And, you know, I keep saying that, but then I looked it up the other day. It's not even that. I think that they're getting less than 100, many of them.
Wow.
Yeah. Some of them maybe 120 to 140, 50. It depends at what entry level. So it's not like they're rolling in the big bucks. It's one thing if you're getting 20 million a year, I could see going along with the raping of our society. That's why Christopher Wray, your boss, is going along with it, because he's going to have $100 million in his account. Christopher Wray, here's a hint. He's going to have $100 million. Yeah. And why do you think he's going to got it? Because he's protecting our children? What do you think? That he's going to have $100 million because he's protecting our society, or because he's selling our society out? That's why Christopher Wray has money. Christopher Wray sold his influence from his initial years in the Justice Department under that repugnant piece of shit, George Bush Jr., right? He was in the Justice Department, right? When he got out, when he was out of the Justice Department, and then they fumigated that office when he left. They had to. You always have to fumigate the office when Christopher Wray, the head of the FBI now, you got to fumigate it because he's such a slimy piece of shit. What he proceeded to do for the next 10 years was use his influence in the government to protect criminals. He was a guys who are obviously guilty for criminal wrongdoing, and he spent 10 years cashing in, protecting the slimiest, scummiest criminals who are out to sabotage our society. Christopher Wray sold his influence, right? And so they said, so the billionaire class said, hey, he's our kind of guy. Christopher Wray is our kind of guy because he could be relied upon to protect our slimy asses, and he could be relied upon to tell everybody that the big threat is white supremacists, when every thinking person knows. Even the FBI agents watching this right now, they know that if you have a brain in your head, you'll know that no one has ever seen a white supremacist. No one's ever seen. Ask 1,000 people.
Well, I think that people have seen things that call themselves white supremacists.
I'm saying in general. No, you see garden variety racist idiots, but you don't see somebody who says you can see them, but you not see them in person. They have no interaction with you. We've never had our lives impacted by them. They say, oh, well, what about Charlottesville? Dude, first of all, and I'm not going to defend anybody on the right or left. I have equal disdain for across the board. I don't like the left. I don't like the right. I don't like liberals. I don't like conservatives, because everybody is a mishmash of nothing at this point. But I'll say this, that the people that are on the right, that are angry as hell because they're dispossessed. They're dispossessed of their vote, and now they're dispossessed of their money, and soon their right to control their own body. Not like
they're going to end up in a re-education camp.
Mm-hmm. And so, and don't make me believe for 1 second, oh, FBI agent, that you're a liberal. Since when were FBI agents were progressives, but yet they're redesigning themselves as left liberals? I don't even know what this means.
It's ridiculous. Like, I have this little pin that I have carried on my purse since a couple of years ago, where I got it at some demonstration. It's got CIA with a red line through it. And a lot of people have come up to ask me that, like, when we'll go to demonstrations and stuff more recently, when people are actually coming out against the lockdown and everything, saying, where did you get that? We don't see those around much lately. And it's a good point, because the left now loves the CIA, and all demonstrators love the CIA.
I know.
I haven't seen one of those pins anywhere. I've never. I actually forget where I got it. I think it was somewhere at Left Forum, but it is definitely a rare thing.
That's the phenomenal success of the Jewish control of the media. I mean, you see, that's how it works. Because, again, this was just a game of opposites. Like, and this is what I'm saying. If Trump said, in January of last year said, okay, everybody's going to get mandatory vaccines, you'd see the people on the left saying, fuck you, you'll never put a needle in me. But since Trump said, I don't want that shit, the left is like, I want the needle, I want the... It's just whatever the opposite.
So predictable. And that's something that you can tell when the ruling class wants to see if their propaganda is working. Like, in the beginning of the pandemic, they were talking about, everybody's buying all the toilet paper. The toilet paper is all going out. And they wanted to make sure that it wasn't just people freaking out over, here's a pandemic. It was people freaking out over their version of narrative of here's the pandemic, because people didn't just stockpile food, they stockpiled food and ran home with carts full of toilet paper. So it's this sort of nugget that slipped in there to make sure it's their propaganda that's working, and not just people's natural mindset, which would have been, oh, here, let me get canned food, let me get rice or whatever. It was, here, let me get all this stuff and this totally pointless toilet paper that would never have any reason to use. All these, you can't eat it, you can shit on it, but you're not going to be shitting because you're not going to be eating whatever. You've done a whole video.
We all got AR-47s to protect the toilet paper.
Oh yeah, the toilet paper, I mean, if people are going to rob your neighbors with their toilet paper, and we can all have a toilet paper militia.
I wanted a shot of me in front of like a pile of toilet paper with like an AR-15.
Yeah, everyone,
don't you come near that shit.
No, we'll be waiting for you when you try to take our toilet paper. Molan Labe toilet paper.
Well, it's like, there's like 3 essential ingredients of life: AR-47s, food, and toilet paper. And forget gold. There's never, you can't do anything.
Gold is much more securely held in toilet paper.
But the reason why I think that the AR-15 sits at the top of the food chain of the circle of life, let's say, is that with the AR-15 you can get the food and the toilet paper.
That's true. You don't have to sit around with your toilet paper, and you don't have to carry the stockpiles. You can just walk up to somebody and stick a gun in their face and say, "Hey,
give me
your toilet paper or your life, motherfucker."
And the guy's like, "Okay,
here, take it all."
And then he gives him a roll, and gives him a couple sheets. The guy goes, "Where's the roll?" They give him the roll, and the guy goes, "I know you got 5 rolls. Somebody said that you had 5 rolls in there."
Oh my god.
No, at that point, you just if you have running water, which we may not have, because I don't want to get back to like the old Soviet system of leaves. Because Masha was telling me that that there was a Russian trick back then of you would take a certain leaf and then wipe your ass with the leaf because they didn't have. Yeah, this is how bad it was. Yeah.
Yikes.
She grew up in the Soviet Union.
I have friends who did, but they've never told me about that.
Yeah, toilet paper. There was no paper. And I remember when I was in St. Petersburg, napkins, at least the places that I went to, it's like paper that doesn't it's like just paper.
I remember that from Nepal, I think.
Yeah, it doesn't absorb. It doesn't know absorbance.
Yeah.
So it's like a piece of paper they give you. Here's your napkin, and you wipe your ass with it, and it's just
doesn't do anything.
No, it doesn't catch the nooks and crannies.
Well, yeah. I mean, the whole point of toilet paper is supposed to be absorbent. I don't know.
How do we get off? Wait a second. We were just getting to the core of the crime of the century. Now we're talking about
toilet paper. Maybe they've done this to us.
Let's get back to the crime against humanity here. Okay, because that should be the name of our show. Fun with crimes against humanity. No, it's amazing we could laugh over these things before we,
Well, like I said, if you don't laugh, you're going to go crazy or shoot somebody. So
So this Peter Drasek, is that his name? Or Drasek? Drasek. From the Eco Health Alliance. I don't believe for one second that he's a central figure, but he's the possible guy who could turn into a rat. Now imagine if we wake up tomorrow, oh, Peter Drasek had a heart attack.
That would be interesting. They'll be awfully fast for them, though. They usually don't act quite so fast.
I know. Well, I don't want them to kill him. I want us to.
No, I want us to be able to talk with him.
Sing like a bird, because we got to get somebody to sing and tell the story.
And there are so many possibilities. Like the fact that this guy's got interlinking with so many important people. Yeah. I mean, the fact that he was involved with these people from Dark Winter.
Oh, look at this. David Kelly, who would die apparently by suicide.
Oh, another one.
Oh, yeah.
Well, didn't know there was 2 guys associated with the anthrax one that died.
Well, I remember when Dr. David Kelly, he was the British scientist, was talking about that shit.
Yeah, then it was Bruce. What's his name? That got killed. Yeah, he wrote a book with Judith Miller. Great. Oh yeah. My God! Yeah, and they let's see. There was something I was looking at, and I can't.
So Drasek is a key, and then type in the interview where I think it was. I don't know if it was with Tucker Carlson or not. I think, and they say so. How do you know that the Chinese that it wasn't released from the lab? He goes, because they told me. Yeah, and then he said, how else am I supposed to know? Type in interview with Drasek. And you'll see that, and we'll play it on the screen.
Okay.
But this is a pivotal. This guy is not high up in the.
What am I looking for?
Whatever the guy's name is, and then interview. Try Tucker Carlson. It might be. I'm not sure if it was a Carlson interview.
That's what it looks like.
Try to. Is Drasek on this interview?
I see the name down there, yeah. But I don't know if it's in here.
It's just I don't want to hear his voice unless it's Drasek is on here. So can you advance the thing to see if
It doesn't look like it.
Oh, okay.
I mean, this is. Let me go.
Okay.
Oops. Let me go to Safari.
You got a lot of tabs there.
I have like 5 screens that are like that. Yeah, it's a nightmare.
Oh my god! See, I'm a lot messier. I keep them on all individual pages. So
I don't do that. I would never be able to get anything done if I did that.
Okay, if Drasek is not there, and just try to manually advance it halfway through, and you'll see this guy's chromium. Domium.
Is he a chrome dome?
Yeah.
That explains more of it.
Guy looks like Piers Corbin.
I don't like Piers Morgan. Make it go away.
No, it's not there. No, it's an ad. Oh, that's just okay. No, that's Matt Gates.
Well, this is too recent. Yeah.
Then try interview, and then I'll look to see. Sorry about this, folks. Try just Peter Drasek interview, and then I'll look in the selection on videos, and I'll see if I recognize it. Because it's astonishing how this guy just goes.
Is that it? Is that the guy?
That's the guy.
Okay.
In that interview, Drasek also discussed his nonprofit organization, which received millions from the U.S. government.
Whoops.
Drasek
We're talking
channeled a
here.
substantial percentage of that money to the lab in Wuhan, which he described as, quote, a
Volume.
world-class lab of the highest standards. Some of that work, again paid for by American taxpayers, went to something called gain-of-function research. That involved manipulating viruses in a laboratory to make them more transmissible and more deadly. In his YouTube interview, Peter Drasek spoke freely about all of this. At the time, he had no reason not to. Outside of a handful of diplomats, no one had raised concerns about the kind of research into bat viruses, very dangerous research, it turns out, that was taking place in Wuhan. According to Peter Drasek, his research and the grant money that supported it was necessary to create a vaccine to prevent the next global pandemic. Watch Drasek explain how easy it is to manipulate a coronavirus.
Coronaviruses are pretty good. I mean, you're a virologist, you know all this stuff, but you can manipulate them in the lab pretty easily. It's just spike protein drives a lot of what happens with the coronavirus, zoonotic risk. So you can get the sequence, you can build the protein, and we work with Ralph Barrick at UNC to do this. Insert it into the backbone of another virus, and do some work in the lab.
You can manipulate them pretty easily in a lab. Now that was recorded on December 9th, 2019. It wasn't long before Peter Drasek stopped giving interviews about his lab experiments. People were starting to ask uncomfortable questions. Wasn't there an advanced virology lab with a history of sloppy containment protocols very close to where the first outbreak occurred? Well, yes, there was, but Peter Drasek didn't want to talk about that. So he and other bureaucrats at the World Health Organization came up with an alternative explanation for the pandemic. The virus, they explained to the world, had most likely emerged from an exotic mammal that for some reason was being sold in a seafood, a wet market in Wuhan. That's what happened.
Every time
sure.
The media bought that explanation.
Yeah, sure.
Later we discovered that it was not true. There was never any evidence, in fact, that COVID infections had originated in a pangolin.
A retard might think that.
The locals in Wuhan
Yeah,
laughed
including
at
A
that.
retard might believe the Jewish
Peter
media
Drasek
telling you
did
that,
not
but
apologize.
not a
He just
thinking
kept
person.
deflecting attention from the lab. In April, he told the show Democracy Now! That, quote, the idea that this virus escaped from a lab is just pure baloney. It's simply not true.
Baloney.
I've been working with that lab for 15 years. They're some of the best scientists in the world. Drasek has pushed that line ever since, relentlessly. Last summer, he wrote an op-ed in The Guardian entitled, Ignore the Conspiracy Theories. Scientists
Pay
know
no attention.
COVID-19 wasn't created in a
God.
lab.
Yeah.
And then he made the point on Twitter repeatedly, quote, gain-of-function research has nothing to do with the origin of COVID unless you believe the conspiracy theories.
That are correct.
Why mix
That
the
are correct.
two together if the virus came from bats, which is what all the evidence suggests? Almost every media outlet in the country dutifully repeated these claims as if they were facts. As early as January, National Public Radio reported this, quote, a wet market in Wuhan, China is catching blame as the probable source of the current coronavirus outbreak that's sweeping the globe. That was fast. It was just a few days into the pandemic. It wasn't clear that NPR had sent anyone to the ground in Wuhan, but somehow they knew exactly where the virus came from half a world
All
away.
following the
China.
script.
National Geographic, famous for its expeditions, also determined somehow that this issue was settled. Quote, wet markets launched the coronavirus, they wrote. Here's what you need to know.
Yeah.
So the investigative reporters were satisfied with no investigation. But some people still had questions. And one of them was Alina Chan. She's a molecular biologist at the Broad Institute at Harvard and MIT. Chan noticed something odd about the coronavirus. Its genome hadn't changed much over time, even though the virus, had undergone trillions of replications. That's strange. Normally, viruses that jump from animals to humans have to adapt quickly to their human hosts. That's what the last SARS virus did in 2003. Early-stage SARS viruses looked very different from SARS viruses later in the pandemic. But this coronavirus wasn't behaving that way. In fact, it seemed like it was custom-built for human transmission. When Chan published a paper on her findings, Peter Daszak attacked her to any reporter who would listen. Daszak called Chan's conclusions preposterous and a, quote, conspiracy theory. Most media organizations followed suit, and the story went away. After all, Alina Chan was just one molecular biologist. What did she know? She was easy enough to ignore. And that's exactly, of course, what happened to a Chinese virologist, Dr. Li-Men Yang, whom we've spoken to on this show. Yang was working in Wuhan in the early days of the pandemic, but the American media dismissed her as a nut, as a conspiracy theorist. There's nothing to see here. Go away, crazy Chinese lady. And so she did. But going forward, it may be much more difficult to dismiss this story. On Sunday, the former director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Robert Redfield, told CNN that based on everything he knows, he too believes the coronavirus likely came from the
Walls
lab.
are closing in, Fauci.
I am of the point of view that I still think the most likely etiology of this pathogen in Wuhan was from a laboratory, escaped.
Walls
Other
closing
people don't believe
in.
that. That's fine. Science will eventually figure it out. It's not unusual for respiratory pathogens.
Walls closing on a
that are
piece of
being
shit,
worked in
Fauci.
a laboratory
He's got to go
laboratory.
down, Fauci. He's the central
He doesn't
figure.
have that far down to
It's hard
go.
to dismiss
You know, he's pretty
Robert
close to the ground.
Redfield as some kind of QAnon enthusiast or a lunatic.
Lunatic.
He's not. Redfield's a former Army officer who spent his
Go full
life
screen with
studying
that.
virology.
Just press
That doesn't
full
mean he's
screen.
always right about everything, and in fact, he's often been wrong during this pandemic. But it does mean that what he says is worth assessing carefully. That's supposed to be what journalists do for a living. They look into claims that have some merit, not proven, but should be looked into, especially claims that have enormous implications for the country. But that's not even
FBI.
close to what happened. The
do
scientists
your job.
over at
Do your job.
MSNBC and CNN, the same people who silenced Alicia Chan, got to work immediately.
These chumps would be
Former
easy to
CDC Director
catch.
Robert
Fauci
Redfield
and
told our own Sanjay Gupta in a new
Oh,
CNN
forget this.
documentary
Forget
that he
this piece of
believes
shit.
COVID-19 originated from a lab in Wuhan, even though obviously there has been no formal evidence to support the theory.
Of
You know,
course.
the lab leak theory doesn't seem like a plausible theory unless you
yeah.
Unless you actually look.
Yeah, unless you actually think.
Unless you like pay any attention.
Unless you actually have two
in a
brain
lab,
cells that
the
work
theory
correctly.
The virus originated in a lab in Wuhan, China. But tonight, Dr. Anthony Fauci tells National Geographic
Hey,
that,
Dr.
quote,
Anthony Fauci
this
lies his
virus
ass off
could not
again.
have been artificially or deliberately manipulated.
Could
Both
not have.
scientists and the U.S. intelligence community agree that this coronavirus was not man-made. That is not a possibility.
Yeah.
It came from a natural source.
Yeah, go
It didn't
fuck
come from a
yourself.
lab. A lot of people on the right love that phrase, escape from the lab, because it sounds like something from a Marvel movie. Or
Yeah,
comic
no,
book. It sounds
because
like they're talking about
what a piece of shit
man-made
this guy
virus
Chris
that China was weaponizing
is,
that got out
right?
of control.
This guy's a total piece of shit.
So scientists and the U.S. intelligence are unanimous. It did not come from a lab.
Oh yeah, except it did.
What's so interesting is, of course, we don't know.
Yeah,
There isn't conclusive evidence in either direction.
yeah.
So why were these self-appointed TV doctors and talking heads instantly making it political and instantly claiming something they can't prove?
They can't. Yeah, exactly.
The New York Times jumped aboard. They immediately published a hit piece entitled "Ex-CDC Director Favors Debunked COVID-19 Origin Theory."
Yep.
The word
According to the New
debunked
York
is
Times,
becoming a dead
intelligence
giveaway
agencies
as far
have
as
no
that
evidence
goes.
When they say you
coronavirus
debunk, that means you're telling the
Yep,
truth.
you're over
That's
the
not
target.
exactly
It's
true. It's not a settled question. Last April, the Office of the Director of National
So the,
Intelligence released a
the
statement
Jewish deep
noting
state
the
is
intelligence
circling the
community has in fact
wagons.
not
It's called
ruled out
circling the
the
wagons,
links to the lab
FBI.
in Wuhan. Intel officials said they will, quote, continue to rigorously examine emerging information and intelligence to determine whether the outbreak began through contact with infected animals or if it was
So we're doing
a
the
result
job
of
of
an
the
accident
intelligence
at the laboratory
agencies, you and I,
Yeah,
tonight. So.
that's a little pathetic because we're not getting their money.
Yeah,
Come on.
I know. Yeah, send us the
Send us
$60 billion.
your
Why
paycheck.
are
Dude.
so many trying to dismiss these claims out of hand as if they know? Why are they trying to make the former director of the CDC be quiet? Part of the answer, of course, to protect China.
Again, this is
The
where
World Health Organization is funded
Carlson
by China.
goes
They're certainly
like
working
everyone else.
Yeah,
He'll take you halfway there, and then he won't say the
really
J
getting on
word.
my nerves because he's like
Yeah,
one of the best ones
it's
out there, but
it's the Mossad they're protecting, dude, not China. Mossad.
Oh, it was Peter Drasek. Surprise, surprise. Now let's see if you can guess what Drasek and his colleagues discovered in their investigation. Well, a whole lot of Chinese innocence. In the WHO's 120-page report on the
the
origin
Chinese
of the virus,
innocents had all
only
these little
2 pages
yarmulkes on and
address the
these side
possibility
girls.
it may have come
Alex
from
Jones will
lab.
tell you it's the Chinese.
Although rare, laboratory accidents do happen, and different laboratories around the world are working with bat coronaviruses. Yes, the report says the Wuhan CDC laboratory moved on the 2nd of December 2019 to a new location near the wet market. Such moves can be disruptive for the operation of any laboratory. But don't get the wrong idea, says the WHO. It is still, and we're quoting, extremely
Don't
unlikely.
get the wrong idea.
the
Have this
virus
other wrong
emerged
idea
from
we're
the
trying
lab.
to sell you.
And we know
Why
it's
is it so
man-made.
unlikely
Everyone agrees,
Yeah,
except for the
everybody's
Jewish
included.
deep
There is
state.
no record of viruses closely related to the coronavirus in any laboratory before December 2019, or genomes that in combination could provide a SARS-CoV-2 genome. In other words, we didn't find a paper trail because China didn't leave one. But the World Health Organization would like you to know, if anyone could keep deadly viruses from escaping into the rest of the world, it's the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Quote, the 3 laboratories in Wuhan working with either coronavirus diagnostics and or coronavirus isolation and vaccine development all had high-quality biosafety level facilities that were well managed. Close quote.
Probably better managed than Fort Detrick.
By the way, this is contradicted by first-hand testimony of American diplomats who went into the lab and said, wow, this looks dangerous.
Again,
But
yeah,
according to
well,
WHO, China
American
Health
people
Organization
have the
did
same
nothing wrong,
moral
so
hours
stop
as a news
asking
person.
questions.
Yeah.
And yet it's interesting that people won't stop. Some people are continuing to ask. On Sunday, a former national security official told CBS News
The
that
American
WHO
diplomat
report has
was
all
there
the
to provide a
credibility
cover
of a
story,
North
I'll
Korean
tell you.
evening news broadcast. Jamie Metzl served in the Clinton administration.
How do you put this on pause? I've never heard that. I usually, when you click the bar, it pauses.
Yeah.
Okay. Because this is the longest Tucker Carlson piece I've ever seen.
Yeah.
The American diplomats, they always the American diplomat was there just to provide the preparatory cover story that can then be pointed to post-temporaneously after the fact to say, see, we went in and warned those. So that was the preparatory.
Yeah, that was the Danny Show Him thing from way towards the beginning.
Right. They needed to create a trail of culpability, or at least they needed to create the appearance.
The illusion of the
they needed to create a story that they could point back to. And they did this over in the Ottawa grade 4 lab when those Chinese
Oh, yeah,
were
with the shoes, with the fucking thing that they were saying, the vials in the sock. And I immediately said when that came on that this is a
that was a different story,
red
but
herring.
yes, the same
It's a red herring. Yeah.
same. There was red herring.
Yeah.
But there was another story of the two of the woman, the Chinese virologist who worked in the Ottawa grade 4 lab. She was escorted out because of some violation, and that escorting of her and her team, her Chinese team, out of the Ottawa lab was big story in China and in Canadian media. Well, there wouldn't have been any reason because it was a routine. The Royal Mounted Police were the ones who actually escorted this woman out. Even their own charge was not sufficient enough. It was like she was there. They were in violation of a permit or something. It was something minor, right?
Okay.
But the reason why they did that event was
to
they
make it
needed
look like, yeah,
something
they could be able to
that they
refer to
could
that, yeah.
point back to and say, well, look at this. To confuse or to provide elements that the Jewish media can then point to, because it's not us that use any of this. This gets used by the Jewish media.
That's what they did in America. That there was that Danny Shoham was over in 2017 when they were working on this thing. There was a big Nature magazine article about it, and they were talking about this Danny Shoham guy was talking about how, oh well, we don't know if the Chinese could really be trusted with something like this. I mean, it's really like this really high security stuff, and we're not really sure, but what could go wrong? And it was like obviously meant to have this. What could go wrong? Well, let's shoehorn this story about wet markets right in here, because every single time there's a damn virus scare, they always link it back to wet markets, because we want China to eat fake mystery meat, and screw your wet markets.
Again, now China. Tucker Carlson show, Fox, and most are we too loud or something?
I don't know, man. I think we might be too loud.
Okay, so then let's. The reason why they're doing this, that it's China. First of all, you have to understand that it's very unlikely that China would purposely initiate a world pandemic in their own country, because the ramifications of that would be serious, and they would.
And they have no need to. They were doing quite well, economically speaking.
So, I'm trying to tone it down. So, but Israel would, because you see, Israel sits at the juncture of the crossroads of the new millennium, which appears to be possibility of a shift of the locus of power on the planet Earth to the Eurasian subcontinent and away from the North American continent. And this fulfills a long-standing prediction, essentially, by Halford McIntyre's geographic pivot of history. Okay, it's a long-standing plan. Okay, what is that noise?
She's opening and closing the door. I don't know why.
Oh, okay. Now, Tucker Carlson will say that everybody's trying to protect China, and it just doesn't make sense. No. Israel is the one who sits at the core of this pandemic. Israel does, because Israel stands to profit in the change, just like the bankers profit when there's a boom and bust cycle. Israel feels that they now are going to profit sitting there at the crossroads, at the juncture of this change in the power structure of the world over to a Eurasian. The Israelis are like, look, we are in a Eurasia. We are sitting at the center of this new Chinese plan to build a Belt and Road. I don't believe that the Belt and Road is the be-all and end-all of global power. However, it may be a significant role in commerce. You better believe it.
Yeah, and that's why they're doing all this stuff with like blocking the Suez Canal and trying to do that. And also, like, China's already bought the port of Haifa, and so this is they're situating themselves so that they benefit no matter what.
And what is the FBI doing about it?
Twiddling their thumbs and talking about white supremacists.
White supremacists, yeah.
Scary white people.
Why don't you listen? Why don't every single person in the FBI just go on a personal white supremacist hunt? Go hunt for them on Monday. Go hunt for white supremacists on Tuesday. Wow.
Maybe like an Easter egg hunt.
Easter egg hunt. Spend your entire just talk about white supremacists while Blackstone Group steals the money from your mother's pension plan. While Blackstone steals the real estate from your grandmother and grandfather. Go ahead. Keep talking about white supremacists while Chris Wray and BlackRock and all the money powers that he works for drain all the retiree plans in the United States, and you're going to sit there and wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to go for a day at the FBI, and I'm not going to completely vomit when I look at myself in the mirror at what I see if I spend one more fucking second chasing the phantom of Chris Wray and all the senators, white supremacists, which no one, 1,000 Americans, ask randomly 1,000 American, When was the last time a white supremacist came into your neighborhood and gave you a problem? Go ahead, ask 1,000 Americans randomly, and guess what? Not one will actually have a credible answer. You might get a social justice warrior douchebag who'll make up a story. Oh yes, I was attacked once by white supremacists, and then you say, oh really? Yeah? No, you weren't. Stop lying.
I saw an actual video from someone in my old neighborhood who supposedly had been attacked by a white supremacist. There was some annoying kid who was coming from a very not exactly white ethnic group who decided to stick his face into a coffee shop and was about I don't even know exactly what, but it was a short, fat Jewish kid, and he was being held up as the example of the white supremacist who we all need to hate.
There's 4 white supremacists that exist in the night. They're in the bumfuck hills of Arkansas fucking their goats. That's it. There's no more.
Squealing like a piggy.
Squealing like a pig. Yeah,
like a
fucking
piggy.
their farm animals. There's only 4 of them, guys. If I hear it, and then the next FBI, the next comment out of anyone saying that the big threat is white supremacists, we need to start ridiculing these guys beyond repair. Like, you need to vomit at what you see in the mirror if you believe what Christopher Wray is telling you. So I'm saying, FBI,
People are all going to get dehydrated from vomiting too much.
do your fucking job. Do your fucking job. We are doing it for you. So we have Peter Drasek, right? You need to find out every inch and fart that this guy's done over the last 4 years. You need to find out every single movement, every phone call this guy's made, every penny that's come into his account. Peter Drasek guy is the fall guy for this conspiracy because he's the low-level operative, right? And he's going to sing. So if you're an FBI agent and you care about your children, we're giving you the keys to the palace of doing your job right. We're giving you the keys. We're giving you the key to proceeding with this investigation. The nexus of the biggest crime in the century is between Fauci and many other players. Drasek is a small player, but it's a vulnerable one, you see? The connection between Fauci and Soros, that's going to be a lot tougher to crack because that's going to be a lot more protected. But the nexus of energy between Fauci and
We can
Drasek.
do what the police normally do. Get the guy at the bottom and roll him up to the top.
That's exactly right. Get Drasek. And I'll say this, that I always appeal to the U.S. military for teams of people independently within the United States military or in the French military or in the Russian secret services or in the Chinese. Grab Drasek, grab him. Get him, and get Fauci too. You better start grabbing these people, and you better start. And you have plenty of methodologies to get what you need, but you need to start grabbing these people. You need to get them.
With
you
Drasek,
need to get these guys.
especially a good chance because now that all these people are supposedly coming home from Afghanistan, well, hey, look who you can capture now that you're back home and you're going to be tasked to go after American people. Well, don't go after American people. Go after Peter Drasek.
Get Drasek, and let's find out what Drasek knows because he's the key, and he's such a low-life rat that he's going to sing. Drasek will sing, definitely. He's the weak spot in this conspiracy. And then we start working our way to Fauci. Fauci doesn't have much to lose. He's an old geez. He's going to die soon. And hopefully not soon enough, right?
He'll be around for a long time, unfortunately.
Fauci, you're going to pay. Fauci needs to pay because Fauci is the central figure. That's why this guy can barely... You can see it in him. He's such a creep. And then he's just so lucky that the Jewish media and the Rachel Maddows, oh, Fauci's so, let me lick your anus, Fauci, right? And then so he gets a little respite. He gets a little bit of a...
Well, that's the thing. He's got as he was always a good media person, as Carrie Mullis points out. All of the talent he lacks in useful areas, he makes up for in being able to.
I don't think he was very good at media because he sounds like some Guido from fucking
He was the center of all attention ever since the AIDS era. He had a very good publicity machine. I don't know if maybe it wasn't him who specifically delivered it, but he has one and it works.
For such a Weasley little runt, And I
I
think
think it was this. He gave them what they wanted. He had an alliance with like there was a couple of groups of AIDS patients that were being funded heavily by the drug companies, and he gave them what they wanted. That's what I'm learning in a book that I'm reading about it.
what's the name of the book?
The Gravest Show on Earth.
And who wrote it?
Let me find it.
Because there's a couple books out there that was somebody that Gary Noel, I think, was involved in, the guy who was the big anti-Fauci guy, which you could barely find on the internet
There's a
now.
bunch of anti-Fauci guys, but
There's a lot of people who are exposing the criminality of anti-Fauci, of Anthony Fauci.
Eleanor Burkett.
Okay, no, I've heard her name.
Yeah, this guy who did actually a really good documentary about Fauci, Fauci's first fraud. It's called AIDS, Fauci's first fraud. His name is Ken McCarthy, but he sent me a couple of these books about just about the Fauci situation and the pandemic situation, and how this is something that Fauci's been working his whole life building up towards.
Yeah. So just make it clear, we are here to assist the real investigators, if there are any in the FBI. We're here to help. You know, we're trying to, you know, we're doing the job certainly that the Christopher Wrays of the world will refuse to do. And so it's like, don't view us as an enemy. View us as a source of a seed of action. And action is a term that we use in physics. Action is actually a physics term, which is one of the core motivating forces of the universe. Action occurs when hot meets cold. There's a couple ways that you get action, right? But we're here to create a seed of action that, and we push it through this aggressive dialectic that we use, which is designed to gain your attention, right? Okay, so when I come out here and I say, oh yes, and I say all the inflammatory things I say, there's science behind that methodology, because you're watching it right now. So we've got your attention, and we're doing this specifically for a scientific goal. The scientific goal is to transmit the information that may not be easily available to you. Certainly you're not going to have any internal memos from that piece of slimy shit named Christopher Wray, who's in charge. You're not going to get any of these directives from him. So we're saying, you know, you play along nice with Wray, because we know you have to, right? Give him the appearance that you care about this guy. But if you want a real way forward, Helen and I are giving you the roadmap, let's say, to how to proceed in this thing. So, and this is coinciding with a couple realizations that I had. We need to put so much pressure on people like Christopher Wray. Have you seen the information regarding Peter Drasek? Have you seen it? Are you aware? We need confirmation. Confirmation. We have to get him to say, yes, I have received it. Okay, then the next question becomes, what are you doing about it, Christopher Wray? What are you doing about that story that Drasek subcontracted out in contravention of the decades-old international treaty against the development of these bioterror weapons and against Obama's own ban on gain of function in 2014? What are you doing about investigating Fauci's subcontracting out to Drasek subcontracting out to the Wuhan lab? What are you doing about the idea that they put Drasek in charge of investigating his own crime? What are you doing about that, Christopher Wray? And this is a question for all FBI agents. Do you have a mechanism within the FBI where you can actually put forth the proposition, okay, we have people that are talking about this Drasek Fauci nexus and Wuhan lab nexus. Are we investigating it? And if not, why not? How many people have to come forth? How much evidence do you need of the crime of the human century, right? How much more evidence do you need before you actually fucking do something and work around Christopher Wray? How much do you need? What do you need? Do you need a tape recorder of Fauci saying, look, we're gonna contravene this convention and we're gonna do this illegal activity? What do you need? Like, what more do you need?
I think that memo that we sent out before 4th of July,
Helped,
I
of
think
course.
that helped. I think that we should try to do something like that.
That's exactly what I've been urging. Did you see that? Did you see it a couple shows ago? I did where I said I felt good. I felt
Yes.
we're going to win. That's the way forward. Is that we need to confront these people and not only just confront them with the information, but get confirmation that they received the information and that they absorbed it.
And that they're positive about sending it around.
Well, no, well, yes, to other people, but with a person like Christopher Wray, since he works for the bankers, he's always going to be resistant.
I'm not talking about Christopher Wray himself. I'm talking about
the
like other
FBI agents. Yes. So we like I say, we need to form units within the military and the FBI that are outside of the leadership of the FBI and the military. So and
give these people some morale, saying that you can help fix what's going wrong.
You are the heroes. You're the heroes
that people say you are.
You're the real heroes. The real heroes will be in the United States military, in the FBI, the CIA, and the NSA. We will find real heroes in that. There are going to be real heroes. That you pass this video around. If you need to cut a section of it out and cut out some of the naughty bits that we said, cut them out. But take the core nucleus of this message and send it out to the United States military. We need to get these guys. We need to get these guys pulling this shit on our families. Do you think your children are safe in a world where they're now telling us, oh, you got to get shots now 2 times a year, and maybe 3 shots 2 times a year? They're going to turn you in.
Pfizer is already up to 3.
Pfizer is up to 3 times a year. They're going to turn you into a fucking pincushion, and then your children are going to have neurodegenerative diseases, autism, and all this shit. And pay no attention to the Jewish fact checkers, because they're all going to say, "Ooh, that's loony conspiracy." Just like when you type in Google, type in "Can men get pregnant?" Type it in right now. I'll wait. You go to Google right now and type in "Can men get pregnant?" It'll say, yes, men can get pregnant and have children. Trust the science. Trust the science. Trust the science. Is the vaccine safe? Yes, they'll say. Yes, men can get pregnant. Yes, vaccines are safe. Trust the science. Trust the science. That's a joke, motherfuckers.
Just don't look up the word science in an online dictionary. Look it up in one of these.
Yeah, exactly. And it has to be an old one, because it was printed this year. It's going to be this Jewish...
Yeah, no, this is like 1993 or something like that.
And again, the only reason I'm so mean to Jewish bankers is because they're the enemy, right?
1997, same thing.
87, right?
97.
Oh, 97. Oh, I have some really old ones. I regret getting rid of my 1897. We had 1897 Britannica.
Wow.
Beautiful. But I was young. I was moving. I had no money. I had no money.
There's a lot of stuff.
And it was a huge set. It went in the garbage.
Ooh.
1897. It was beautiful. I mean, leather bound, all that nice stuff. And now you go look from there, fucking $4,000 for this thing.
Oh,
but in those, you'll look up like word like gender. I know. Yeah, don't bother doing that today. You're gonna get. And again, I'm not against any. I'm not against gender. I'm for gender.
that doesn't mean anything.
I know. That's exactly right. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
I support gender. I do. I totally support gender. While you're killing 10,000 fucking people.
Just paint it pink and put a rainbow on it and start cheerleading about. Yes, we can have you can do whatever you want to your genitalia. Just keep killing people.
That's exactly right. Play. You can cut off your schlong and sew it to your forehead. Just do not question the banking system.
No, that's about it.
Yeah. Well, I think we've done a pretty good show tonight, and I'm glad we went into this Peter Drasek?
Peter I can never remember this guy's name.
I know, it's such a boring guy. And it's terrible to have to learn the names of all these fucking boring, horrible people, man. Yeah. As an investigative journalist, I should be better at that. But Drasek.
Daszak. I'm usually good at remembering names and stuff, but this guy keeps in one eye out the other.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks for joining us. Thanks for staying with us despite our technical difficulties, which actually weren't that difficult. It's just once we got the machine
Amazing
going.
technology is pretty good. And like I say, if you want to help in this revolution, we urge you to become familiar with video editing technology. You can edit bits of this video, sections of it.
All you need is iMovie, which comes with most new laptops. I mean, it's better if you have Final Cut and everything, but you can do it with iMovie. It's pretty simple.
And then we urge, we're going to start organizing information, an information war, and an information facilitation process to people, individuals in the Federal Bureau of Investigation, because again, we have to start to get them back on our side. You know, we can't just alienate. You know, I know that the banking system has done a pretty good job at destroying the central focus of what it means to be a law enforcement officer, somebody who's an investigator who's there to protect society. The banking system has done a really good job, like the corporate structure and the sort of like the only way you get to be in the FBI, you know. I'm sorry, you know, we have to kind of get back to the basics here. We need to protect our children from this, these bankers that are doing this.
Yeah, and not just your children. If you don't have any children, you still need to protect the world that you live in and that you care for, and that you should want to have the world be a better place after you leave than you were when it came in. I mean, that's, to me, that seems like a pretty obvious thing to work for, and why not do it?
Why not do it? No. Well, Godspeed, everybody. Thanks for showing. Say goodbye.